Ladies and gentlemen, football season is back, and 10K has you covered for all things Vikings merch related. Just go to 10ktakesmn.com. Go to the shop tab and check out our awesome Vikings collection, where we got awesome gritty sweatshirts and just all really amazing Vikings themed merch. Go and check it out. And on top of that, our limited edition gritty hats are coming back in a few weeks. I think we sold out of them in 6 minutes last time we released them. They are top-notch, high quality from, what's the distributor
Northern
again?
Lids.
Northern Lids, yes, a very great guy who's in charge of all that. So, yeah, just a reminder that those are coming out, and they are going to sell out quickly. So be on the lookout for an announcement regarding those gritty hats.
On this episode of It's a Bit, we're joined by Marcus Whitman. He's that franchise guy on YouTube who has over 90,000 subs, NFL and NFL draft analyst, and a local Minnesota guy. Marcus Whitman, awesome interview. We're also going to go through our bits of the week as always, talk a little Vikings preseason football, state fair, and end the show by drafting random Minnesota athletes. Yes, not the most popular, not the most well-known, but the most random that we can think of. So all of that and more on It's a Bit.
To the top, never going down, don't wait for the drop. Never stand still, that's the motto. Yeah, brand new bands for the auto. Oh, foot to the ground, full throttle. Big energy for the night like lotto. Damn, y'all talk lots, never this quiet. Life like a Seinfeld plot. Vault full of songs, all of them bombs. Something like a minefield guy. Boom, get it, tickets running out quick. Bet it, never get it out big.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of It's a Bit, presented by 10,000 Takes. My name is Bossman, joined by, we have Wags and journalist Jake. And the first thing we got to talk about today is, did you guys see the Vikings preseason game last Saturday night? I didn't get a chance to watch it. I'm excited to hear your thoughts.
I did, and I'm already back on the train of, like, let's lower the preseason games even more. I know it used to be 4, now it's 3. I'm voting for 2 preseason games. I think 2 is more than enough. I'm ready to move on to the NFL season.
Yeah, I can't believe there's one more this week. My eyes, I wanted to almost like gouge my eyes out. But, I mean, it was fun seeing Kirk Cousins on the sideline having a good time and I guess taking mental reps in while wearing a helmet. I mean, whatever helps him perform better during the season. But otherwise, it was just... it's JV football out there that we don't need to watch.
It was like watching, just like your local high school game, actually, where, handoffs, unless it was 3rd and long, and then they tried to bomb it, right? It was a very slow, very boring game.
If you want more reps, just do more joint practices and don't get us excited by broadcasting them locally. I mean, preseason football is awesome for those first few weeks, but I certainly agree that we need to fucking put a stop to it after 2 weeks.
Yeah, and to your point, joint practices have been, like, just seeing the highlights of those have been way more electric than any of the preseason games. I would much rather see live streams of the joint practices.
Well, they've been saying, sorry to interrupt, but I'm just saying they've said that the joint practices, like, that's been more productive for, like, getting players ready than, like, the actual preseason. Yeah, sure, they're going into a stadium and they're playing in a game setting, but they're not. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's a bunch of JV kids running around, and like, am I the only one that thinks like we haven't really truly seen how good Jaron Hall could be because he's just always getting annihilated by the defense?
I completely agree with that take. In fact, I'm actually like pretty pleased with what he's done with what he's had on the field. I mean, he's actually really, really good at feeling pressure, escaping out, and making plays happen on his own. But you're right. They got to put him with some first teamers or at least some second teamers because he's out there with the third stringers, and it's not. He's not doing well with that.
He's getting pelted. So, yeah, I feel bad for, like a lot of good quarterbacks that got drafted that have so much potential that are playing in the preseason that we can't truly see how good they are because they're playing with a bunch of the 3rd and 4th string practice squad offensive linemen that will probably get cut, and they're getting blown up in the preseason game. So you're not truly getting to see how good they are.
The key difference between preseason and joint practices are during joint practices, the players fist fight. During preseason games, the fans fist fight. Did you guys see the game in San Fran last week where it was just a fucking all-out brawl? One guy is just battered and bruised and bloody. Just his fucking nose is bleeding. His eyes are both bruised up. And it's like, buddy, you woke up today and decided to get in a fist fight at a preseason football game. Like, it might be time to reevaluate your priorities.
And wasn't it between, like, fans of the same team as well?
Yes, 49ers fans.
I don't
fucking
get that.
49. Does it always feel like, other than the Jags, it's always NFC fans too? It's always like Philadelphia or
That's the program screen on the right side of the talking.
Oh, you're making them red.
It's okay.
We do have 2 cameras in the studio now.
And
so,
now we're working out. And also we don't have our OG producer here. Cam's not here, but we're here with the lovely Johansson.
Josiah.
Josie, yeah. But yeah, we have 2 cameras now, so a little more work on the producer side. So Cam can't get pissed and yell at the Twins anymore because he's going to actually be switching snes.
Yep, you got to click a button more than just once every 5 minutes now.
Yep.
You got to help out. We're boosting the quality of this bitch.
Yep. We need to boost also the automation and just have a robot switch back and forth so that Cam can go back to watching the Twins.
We can bring it in an AI.
You know what I haven't been digging in the preseason though, by the way, is they make Ben Lever interview a lot of players on the sideline during the preseason game, obviously, and I just feel like the majority of the players getting interviewed do not want to be there, and it makes for like really cringy interviews. Am I the only one who thinks that?
Yeah, and they're like 10-minute long interviews.
Yeah,
like that's not Lieber who chose that amount of time because he asks like a ton of awesome questions.
Yeah, he does. Yeah,
you can tell they're like just trying to fill it because the product on the field is so bad.
Yeah, it just feels like the players, they want to be playing right now. They don't want to be sitting on the sideline talking. It just feels like they don't want to be there.
Who was it that one of the NFL coaches came out with like a ton of rules about like preseason football, like no sunglasses? I think one of them said no interviews. I don't know if that was Sean Payton or who it was, but one NFL coach, might have been Bill Belichick, set out like a strict list of rules for what to do during preseason games, and pretty much everything the Vikings do violated a rule on that.
I'm pretty sure it's Sean Payton, right? Because he was like no bucket hats, and he was also ripping on Aaron Rodgers. And I remember like the very next week in practice, Sauce Gardner is out practicing with a fucking bucket hat. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it was him.
Yeah. Well, Sean Payton's back, and he's a douchebag.
Surprise.
We also, the next day, we had Kirk Cousins going to Kohl's because apparently a fan gave him a gift card during training camp, which is cool, but also kind of bananas that you're handing a multimillionaire a gift card.
Dude, this guy's been making $40 million a year for like 5 years straight. He does not need a gift card,
But respect to him for being like, I'm going to go to Kohl's and redeem that shit because I appreciate it, and I actually wear a lot of the clothes there.
Yeah, it's right on brand for Kirk Cousins, man. It really is. But the funniest place I think he visited was when he was going on his little trip was he went to Thielen's Meats.
Yeah, I didn't know Thielen had a meat store.
Yeah, and I didn't know if this was actually, did Adam Thielen's family own a place called Thielen's Meats, or did Kirk just see a store called Thielen's Meats and he got out of his vehicle to go and take a picture in front of it?
They saw it on going along the highway, and he says, "I like that. I'm gonna go there. That's Thielen's Meats. We're all going there."
Little Falls, does that sound right?
Yeah, it does.
Thielen Meats. Thielen Meats. Who owns Thielen Meats? John Thielen. John Thielen and his wife Linda. I don't think there's a relation. I feel like Adam would be mentioned if.
Yeah.
But then again, he's from Detroit Lakes, and how far is Detroit Lakes from Little Falls? I think he's from Detroit Lakes, isn't he? Yeah. Maybe then if
it is a 1 hour and 37-minute drive.
Well, if they are related, they're doing it the wrong way. Because I just remember Joe Mauer's brother, I believe, owned a few car dealerships,
Jake.
and they would always be throwing Joe's name out there in the advertisements. So I mean, that's the smart way to do it.
But maybe they're just some humble folk from northwest Minnesota, and they don't need they don't need to flaunt that they're related to Adam Thielen. They'll make good enough
I feel like
business.
you would know this, Jake. Is Thielen like a pretty common name in Minnesota?
I don't think so. Honestly, I don't think I've ever heard that until
I saw Adam Thielen.
Until I saw Adam Thielen. You know what I mean? Like the Mankato product.
There's no chance that Adam's involved in this because I'm on the front page of their website. There's no mention of it. You think they would take advantage of that free marketing all the time?
They'd have a testimonial, and he'll be front and center on that.
Him
website.
like holding a football in one hand and like a beef stick in the other,
a meat,
or like him grilling burgers with his helmet on.
Yeah.
Like you would think that they would have sponsored Adam by this point. You really would have, yeah.
Or if it's a family thing, that he would just graciously lend a picture of him wearing a Vikings jersey.
Yeah,
holding at the meat store.
Holding some meat, yeah.
So credit to Kirk for just being that good of a friend to Thielen, where it's like, he doesn't even play for my team anymore, and his family doesn't even own this meat store, but we're stopping there.
Yeah,
yes.
He chuckled. He chuckled. He liked it. He's like, Thielen Meats.
Yes.
Julie, I like this place.
We're gonna pull over.
We're gonna go to Thielen Meats. That place looks good. I know Adam would appreciate it.
Sounds like stealing meats if you had to lift.
Stealing Meats.
Thielen Meats.
Hey, by the way, Kirk,
Thielen.
Looks like the boys at the Vikings, at least the offense, they did Mustache Monday, and Kirk showed up with a handlebar mustache. He has never looked more like Jake Bringle than in that moment right there, dude.
I wish I would have known he was doing that, but I think a lot of people are going to think, oh, you were copying him. It's like, no, I've been doing that the last 2 years for the 3M Open.
Yes.
So Kirk copied me.
Yeah.
But we are one and the same. We are like the same person. We're living in a simulation,
You guys have that telepathic communication, so when he sensed that you did the handlebar, he's like, I'm going to do that at a time when it's appropriate down the road, like a time like training camp.
Well, he woke up one day and he's like, you know what, Julie, I just got this random dream or random thought in my head. I'm gonna shave a handlebar. Okay.
Also on that trip to Brainerd, they stopped at a Zorba's, and Kirk Cousins might be the first person at a Zorba's, specifically in the Brainerd area, to go there and not get completely wasted.
Yeah, in the history of human existence, the first person to not go in there and get plastered.
Well, you know damn well, though, he was drinking a Roy Rogers or two while he was there.
Yeah. Alcohol-free most likely.
Had two, and then Julie had to drive home.
Yeah,
Yes.
but they did. But no, I feel like that's not where he probably got a little derailed. It might have been when I saw they went to the Chocolate Ox as well. I think it was a different Chocolate Ox, but they used to have. I think they did or still do have one up in Cross Lake, Minnesota, by the Whitefish Chain. And I remember we would stop there on our way back when we would come back from staying at Cross Lake and just load up on so much food that by the time we got back, I thought I was going to die from all the candy I consumed. So that's probably what got Kirk. He probably went in there, ate a bunch of ice cream. I don't know what candy he likes. We'll have to ask him next time we have a chance, but I'm sure that's what he probably got a tummy ache and had to
I don't know, man. For how cut he is, especially that video of him on the plane back from Buffalo, does that guy even touch anything with carb, sugar?
See, I think
fat?
he does, and the reason why is because Kirk doesn't have many vices. So if he's not, fucking around, if he's not getting hammered, what does he do? He's probably sneaking a candy bar every now and then.
He can afford it.
It's
That's
not,
fair.
it's
That's
not like
fair.
he doesn't need to look like Daniil Hunter. He just needs to look like 3% body fat. I mean, he has quarterback. I mean, you saw Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, you can be a fat ass. And be a
True, you
quarterback.
can. Yeah.
But you're right. Kirk does look jacked. He definitely does.
He does. But yeah, Vikings 2 weeks away. I think there's a content opportunity that we will be participating in.
Yes, we will be there opening week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's hilarious. They play that Sunday, and then 4 days later, they're Thursday Night Football against the Eagles. So
Yeah, I'm not saying as a Vikings fan that there's anything you feel good about, but doesn't it feel a little better knowing that Tom Brady's not the quarterback of that team anymore?
yeah, they just announced Baker Mayfield's the starter, man. If we lose Baker Mayfield week 1, we're gonna have some
lost
problems.
to Cooper Rush though.
We did. But you got to think
That was
the
Zimmer.
Cowboys were a lot better of a team when we lost than Tampa Bay should be. So
That was also the Zimmer era.
they had Tom Brady last year, and were they one game above 500, or were they below 500?
They were bad.
last
They
year?
were
Yeah.
maybe 500.
Yeah.
So
and they still won the division. Their division was awful.
it's going to be bad again this year too.
I know they were mentioning Kyle Trask was maybe going to be the starter, but it just goes to show that Baker hasn't been all that great in training camp if they're both that close to.
Baker hasn't been all that great as a professional football player
No.
in general.
I think he had 1 year. It's pretty good
With the
That
Browns,
was
ever since he
yeah.
left the Browns, it's just kind of gone down.
And by the way, he did he's got them their first win in so many years. He actually led them to the playoffs. And what did they do to just throw him aside for someone who's under a lot of investigations, or at least was accused of a lot of sexual assaulting?
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson.
Guy who likes massages.
Yeah, that's not a crime.
Dude, there were people on it's bananas with every argument. There's mostly normally two sides. There's some issues where you're like, this should not have a second side. But then you saw Browns fans last year
Yes.
fucking bringing massage tables and mannequins with boners to the tailgates,
Oh god.
or free Deshaun. It's are you fucking serious? We're gonna take that. You're gonna die on that hill.
It's Ohio.
Yeah,
That's
I suppose.
Cincinnati, Ohio.
You never know.
The suburbs. I don't want to be there.
State Fair starts this week. You guys ready?
You said Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Sorry, he said Cincinnati, Ohio. You meant
Oh, yeah, I
Cleveland,
mean
Ohio.
Cleveland,
Sorry,
Ohio.
I was left in the.
That's
But
way worse. Though.
Yes.
That's actually way worse.
That's
than
that's
Cincinnati.
Patricktown. That's my
Yeah.
hometown.
But it's all the same. Whatever, Ohio.
But yeah, it's State Fair season, boys. Nick Lewis, he just released his 37 best foods / drinks to try at the State Fair. Go to 10ktakesmn.com to check it out. But I think we're going to do a bit this year where we all go to the State Fair with $100. I'm not sure when we're doing this, but we're all going to go. We're going to have $100. We're all going to buy whatever we want for $100 throughout the day, and then let people vote on who bought the best stuff with their $100. We're doing something.
Yeah.
Right?
Next Friday we're doing it. That's the only day I can fucking go to the fair, which I'm a little upset about. But I have high priority things instead to do. So we went like 4 days last year. It was a little too much. I think I got kind of sick of everything by the last day and ended up just spending an egregious amount of money.
I think 2 times is the perfect amount of time to go to the fair.
Yeah, you have to be careful. You have to be careful.
Okay, was there something else coming there?
No, you just have to be careful by going more than a couple days because you spend, you could risk yourself financially like Vegas.
You could risk yourself.
You could risk your financial health.
Dude, are you okay?
Yeah, I don't know what the word is. You could financially put yourself into a bind.
You can go bankrupt from the state fair if possible.
Yes.
It's kind of funny
you gotta
because
be careful.
When we say like you have $100 at the state fair, I think, God, there's so much you could buy with that. That is kind of not a lot of money for the state fair, which
20 years ago, sure.
Yeah, out loud saying it is kind of upsetting considering I went like 4 days last week. Probably spent $1,000 across those 4 days on food and drink.
It only comes around once a year, so you can also it's like Vegas, right? You can justify it for some dumb reason.
Well, then you got to be careful because you could spend like half of that at Giggles.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
At the beer, getting all the specialty beers and everything, which are fantastic. But you got to be careful. We've
all spent way too much time at Giggles.
But we're gonna go back to Giggles. We just got to try to limit the time so we don't, get into the Giggles
fair out
black
there,
hole.
There's a whole fair out there we can explore. And we don't need to just sit and drink at Giggles.
I remember
we invented a game at Giggles last year. Do you remember the game we invented at Giggles?
With the cup?
There was no cup. There was a circle in the middle of the table, and we'd have like we'd ball up napkin, right? And we'd try to make it, and it took a long. It was actually electric.
Well, I think I made it right before. I'm like, hey, film this, and I threw it right in the hole, and you're like, oh, I wasn't filming. My bad. We got to do it again. I'm like, I didn't.
It took like 2 hours.
I didn't get it.
Take a video saying you're gonna kill the president.
Yeah, give me that.
Yeah, if you're a fan of I Think You Should Leave.
Yeah, I think no, we're gonna limit ourselves. But it's weird because I will see people go there. I swear, like almost all 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know how you're doing that. That much walking.
Yeah,
it's gonna be hot. It's usually hot this time of year anyway. I don't know where you're getting all this money. Because you have to spend a shit ton of. I mean,
last year,
it's okay.
When we were there last year, though, we were doing a lot of stuff with KFAN, and like really, when we were doing that, I felt like we were all like holding back a lot because we couldn't really drink, and we didn't want to feel like super fat and gross when you were doing it on the radio. So we kind of had to go extra days to actually get a legitimate fair experience. I think that's why we went so much.
Right, because like that day we were quote unquote working, and your mind is in a different place. Whereas when you go there without a plan or itinerary or anything
much more
to do,
fun.
Yeah, you can do whatever the hell you want.
Now, we were limited. Now we're just gonna cram everything we can into one day and just go to town.
Yeah.
At that place.
Just full rip it.
Yeah.
Also, Gopher football starts next Thursday. Week 0 starts this week.
It does. Nebraska is coming to town, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why they call it week 0 because technically the game starts.
That would be week 1, and like 99% of the rest of the league just has a bye.
Didn't the Gophers play week 0 last year or no?
Nebraska did though.
They did. Okay.
Right?
Nebraska did. Gophers have always
started week 1.
Since I've been alive, I've always started week 1 on this Thursday.
So what if you have a game on week 0? Are you just taking an extra bye during the regular week or during the regular season?
Or does it end a week early for you?
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know.
Like normally the week
weird.
of Thanksgiving would be like you wouldn't play that week.
No,
You'd
because
be done already.
I know Nebraska because they had a game last year during week 0, and I think they still had their. I still think they ended the season when every other team did.
They said they have to just throw a bye week in there somewhere. That's the only way.
I think they probably have well, I don't think they play next week.
Didn't they play in Europe last year though? So they probably got
Nebraska?
Yeah, didn't they? Or am I crazy?
I don't.
Did they do that with college football? Did they do?
I thought they went
whole
somewhere
Europe
last
thing?
year. Yeah, I'm gonna search it.
Look
quick.
it up.
Yes.
But I think they do have the extra bye. I think they just have the bye during week 1.
We should make week 0 a preseason for all the really shitty teams so that we can be a little more entertaining week 1 when they get blown out.
That's where then I think that's how week 0 used to be. It used to just be like really shitty teams. Like the matchup I'm looking forward to Saturday at 4:30 is UTEP Jacksonville State. That's what I want to watch. Yeah. And it should only be those teams. That's all it should be is those teams playing in week 0.
So I did the research. Week 0 last year, they played in Dublin, Ireland.
Okay.
Oh shit.
So literally the day the podcast is getting released is the 23rd of August. 1 year ago to the day is when they played there.
Nebraska played in Ireland?
Yes,
they belong there. There's a lot of similarities
I'm pretty
between
sure
Nebraska and Ireland.
Didn't
they win that game? I thought like that was like the one like win last year Scott Frost got, or am I?
I don't know if who did they play?
Let's see.
Did they play Notre Dame?
Nah, this is just gonna take me. It just says that their first game was in Dublin, Ireland. So.
They played.
I don't know.
They played an Irish football team called the what is it from
Family
Guy?
Guy,
The Sissy Nannies.
Yes, the
Sissy Nannies.
the England Sissy Nannies. Or
Yes,
something like
yeah,
that.
the London
They were
Sissy Nannies.
sponsored by McWifey Beatty Tavern.
Dude, that's the episode where Shapoopy, the
Yep,
girl who's
Shapoopy.
hard to get. Yeah.
Tom Brady's in it.
Yeah.
Oh man, good times. All right, let's move into our bits of the week. We'll start with you, Wags. What do you got?
I got the failure bit. We have a show that airs every Saturday on KFAN at 2 p.m. and it's called 10K Bets, and we give our betting picks. This year, I've been 8-1 in UFC picks, and I was pretty confident in 2 picks I gave, which both were just massive L takes. Sean O'Malley one-punched Aljamain Sterling and got the dub, which was super shocking. And then I really wanted Chris Weidman to get the W, told everyone to bet on him. I actually told people it was going to be free money because he was going to be so dedicated to come back, and he got beat up pretty fucking bad. But, it's fight sports, so one punch can do that to you, so I'm not going to be too upset about it. But, I did feel like a little bit of a failure, especially because you guys are always calling me the UFC guy. I feel like I need to come through, and I didn't. I do have an honorable mention bit, though, and this actually goes back to when I was in Florida. I didn't tell it on the episode last week, and it's called the mold bit. When I was in Florida, I went to go and buy some ultralights, right? I go in because they don't have golden lights in Florida, obviously.
Okay,
yes.
yeah.
But I go in to buy them, and the box is soaked, right? I'm like, I'm not going to get this. So I reach behind it. The box is just damp. It's not soaked like the other one I get. So I just thought, hey, maybe it's a little leakage from the other box. I'm just going to buy this. I start drinking them. They're in aluminum bottles, and I think I drink 3 or 4, and I start getting like really sick and just vomiting everywhere. I was like, there's no way I'm hammered. There's no way the beer is making me act up like this. Like, what's going on? A few hours later, my buddy, who I let drink a few beers in Florida, he came up to me. He's like, hey, Zane, did you notice this about the beers? I opened up a few, and, like, look, there's mold in all of these fucking beers. I can see them all over the can, which makes sense. They were soaked. I didn't think about it at all, but I was drinking moldy fucking beer until my whole body was like, nope, and it started throwing up, and it ruined a day of my fucking trip.
Well, that it's kind of ironic because you were in Florida in the summer, which is basically just mold in itself.
Yeah, there was mold in our bathroom, dude.
Yeah,
Yes.
Because it's so fucking hot and humid and sticky and wet everywhere that mold is just going to accumulate on everything.
Yeah, and I think Jake went. We played golf with your brother, last Saturday at Bluff Creek, and Jake was like, "It's my turn to buy. Let's get some ultralights." I was like, "Get me anything but fucking ultralight, dude."
And I was like, why? He's like, I'll tell you in a second. I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. And then you told me you just downed moldy beer
ultralight. Yep.
Became one with Florida by puking.
Yes.
So,
I left a part of myself in Florida.
You did. I mean, if you were on the street puking, you would just blend in.
Yeah, I was gonna
average
say,
citizen. Yeah.
Yeah, or like New Orleans, same story.
Exactly.
Yeah, really quick, going back to UFC, I did see a clip where Sean O'Malley said that he was this close to almost pulling out of that fight because his like hip or his ab or something was so injured and tender that he couldn't even grapple in practice. So he thought it was a miracle that like he won that fight because he had not grappled.
Yeah.
What the hell is I always think of grappling, I think of someone like climbing along a wall.
Just think when two people are like right up against each other, it can be wrestling, it can be jiu-jitsu, anything along those lines where two people are grabbing each other and trying to manipulate each other really close.
Josie's saying fucking, is that?
Yeah, wrestle fucking, yes.
Yeah,
They
okay,
were
that makes
fucking
sense.
each other up.
He basically couldn't do that, and he had to lie to the media like they were like journalists were asking him, how's grappling sparring been?
Yep.
And he's like, oh, it's been great. We're ready to grapple. And he's like, I had no idea if I was gonna be able to grapple or if I would have just collapsed.
Yeah, and that happens way more than you'd ever guess in a UFC fight because their training camp is punching and getting punched by other people, so they get hurt all the time. That's why there's someone, I don't remember their name, but they recently got kicked out of the UFC, and a few of their fighters did because they would take that inside information. They would know when a fighter was kind of fucked up going into a fight, and they'd bet a lot of money on the other person. And that's how they'd make their money.
Just like playoff hockey, though.
Yeah,
Like when
that's true.
Back when they specified injuries and someone found out, they would just go cross-check you in that area.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why they don't disclose them to like when you're actually hurt in the playoffs, so they don't target it.
Also, in epic fashion and right on brand, the first thing Sugar Sean O'Malley did when he won that fight was just light up a big-ass joint.
Yep, right on brand. We talked about that actually on the radio show.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's got a kid. I didn't know that either. He's
Yes.
got like a 3-year-old daughter.
Yes, with his longtime girlfriend, and as I said on the radio show, they're also both in an open relationship.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
What the fuck?
Congratulations.
So Sean O'Malley's just having a grand old time
Yeah,
right now.
good for him.
He's 135 champion of the world. Yeah, congratulations, Sugar Sean.
Whatever's going on in his life, I guess it's working.
Yeah,
Might not make sense to me and you, but he's got the belt and we don't.
Dude, that hilarious Instagram picture just surfaced of him. It was literally almost 10 years ago to the day he won the belt, and it was literally he shaved his eyebrows for someone to give him $50. That was
He's crazy. He's a
10
good
years
dude.
later, he's making $1 million in one fight, and yeah,
That's like every other UFC fighter, though, outside of like the top 10. It's
You're
just
right.
the same story, basically.
yeah.
He represents us, the people.
Yeah.
I didn't. I saw like the highlights and everything, but I didn't watch it live. Did Joe Rogan interview him?
Yes, he did. I actually didn't watch the interview though, so I don't know.
I was gonna say, did he say "I fucking love you, Joe Rogan"?
He said it when I saw Joe was interviewing him like Friday night, and he said it Friday night.
Nice,
So I
okay.
assume he said it Saturday night.
He already
as
got
well.
it out though.
Yes.
That's kind of his notorious bit.
It is.
Like to see it.
It's a great.
good bit.
That'd be a good bit to write down on the sheet. I fucking love you, Joe Rogan.
I fucking love you,
He
Joe
gives
Rogan bit.
Joe Rogan an OTPHJ, and then he lights up a joint, calls it a night.
And then
That's a
smokes
perfect day for
DMT.
Puts his daughter to sleep and then fucks someone else.
Yeah.
It's just a wild ride that guy has, and it's working, man. He's fun to watch.
Did you see what he posted on Instagram Sunday morning, the morning after he won the belt?
No.
He posted a picture. You couldn't see himself, but you could see the top of his longtime girlfriend's head, and it just said "Sucky Sunday."
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
Sucky Sunday.
See, I didn't understand because then there was the belt and then the Boston
Yes,
skyline.
in the background. Yep.
I didn't understand what he meant by sucky. I'm like, sucky, dude. You just won. Like, is it the weather? I did not see the top of her head in the shot.
and
Sunday
it was.
Scaries.
That okay.
It makes a lot more sense now.
I feel like
Sunday.
a fucking rookie now. Okay, that makes sense. Journalist Jake,
Yeah.
what's your sucky bit?
Mine is the justified fat ass bit. So this kind of goes along with the state fair coming up. If you want a place to go and just completely demolish and inhale a bunch of unhealthy foods over and over, minute after minute after minute after minute, even when you're full, this is the time to do it. You just call yourself a fat ass and just do it, even if you're no matter how healthy you're eating outside of the fair. You just go into the fair and just eat so much great greasy food, and it's fantastic. You feel like shit, but you know what? You're like, I'm going to be a fat ass today because I paid for admission, and damn it, I'm going to drink all these specialty beers I can't get outside of here and all this food that I can't get at the local grocer. So I am going to become the fat ass.
There's no more freeing feeling than like knowing that you're showing up to a place and that you're gonna pig out. Like
Yeah.
it's just great. Obviously, you feel like
It's
shit
fantastic.
afterwards, but you literally feel like I'm in control of everything. Right?
It's right.
It's
when it happens on accident, like you get really high and you order a ton of pizza and then you eat it, you feel like terrible
Yeah,
about yourself.
exactly.
At least with this, you're sober and conscious, and you've already accepted the fact that you're going to make poor choices.
Yes.
So it feels better in the moment.
Yeah.
It's justified. So you justify it. It feels fantastic. It feels great. It's kind of like sometimes though on like a Sunday if you haven't really ate like shit all week, you've been a little healthy and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna order a pizza or I'm gonna get like some fast food. I don't give a fuck. Like I can be a fat ass today.
Yeah.
So, but that's like the state fair. Every day we go, no matter how many days you go, it's a place of eating. There are concession stands with stuff on sticks all over the place, dipped in oil and grease and sugar and whatever. And jizz probably. I don't know. Whatever floats somebody's boat, but it's fantastic.
Do you guys remember a few years back, right when we started doing drafts and rankings on the show, we drafted the worst jobs? Can we add one to that list like 2 years later?
What?
Minnesota State Fair janitors.
Yes.
Because those toilets are just destroyed by when did gates open? 6, I think?
yeah.
Yeah.
Those toilets are
Or
destroyed
some-
by 7 a.m.
Yeah, and you got to think they're destroyed by like 90% of like the damage is caused by like probably 3 people.
Yeah.
And it's probably the really big motherfuckers that go there.
We were with Russo the opening Friday of
Jeez.
last year's state fair. Remember, keep in mind, only one day has passed, right? Just the opening Thursday has passed. I recorded a video of walking into the bathroom, opened up my stall. There was a fucking pair of shardy boxers just on the ground right next to the fucking toilet. Remember that?
I don't know if I
You remember
remember
that, Jack? Right?
I
I posted the
remember
video.
that.
It was day 2 of the state fair. It's not like
That's
we're a week into the
insane.
bitch.
And it was like the afternoon, right?
Yeah, it was Friday after. Like the sun was just about to go down. Like,
day.
Not
even that, two
Dude,
days.
if I ever shit myself so bad in that public of a place, put me down. bring me outside the house and old yeller me in the face.
But
that's bad.
Yeah, he was so bad he had to leave the boxers behind. I can't believe that.
Can you imagine? You just see some guy like running through the crowd. Someone probably thinks there's like a bomb somewhere because this guy's running so fast.
Theoretically,
to the
there probably was a bomb somewhere.
Yeah, there's a bomb coming out of his
asshole.
Yeah. Well, that's funny because I just think of that now. More people probably saw that just beyond Zane. And probably with accumulation with some other stuff people probably saw, and then people just saw me walking around with a fucking stab wound on my leg.
Oh yeah, dripping,
like lasagna dripping. So people just saw everything at last year's State Fair.
It's a really disgusting place, it kind of especially
is.
When it's hot and people are getting greasy. It's a culminate. There's a lot of. It's almost like a petri dish where you like grow bacteria. That's basically what the Minnesota State Fair is. It's fantastic. This isn't a slight at all. It's just it's a truthful fact that this place is just disgusting.
I mean, like if you are able to go like on a weekday morning or something like on Monday or Tuesday, I think that's the best time to go. Less lines, less people. It seems more civilized because it's more clean. But you go there on like we're going to be going on. Now I'm going to be going this Friday and the next Friday. Into like that Friday night, a weekend night, it's just turns into a fucking shit show because there's like 5, 6. It's pretty much just open bar. It's really just like an open and carry, or like what's the law like?
Like open container.
Open container.
Yeah.
Open and carry is
and
gun laws,
an endless buffet.
Yeah, and you just walk around with all your booze, and there's bars and music. It's literally just a big party. But like Friday or Saturday nights, if you're not partaking in any boozing, you want to get the hell out of there as fast as possible.
Especially when the concerts are there and people are drunk at those and they're wandering around. It can be a bit of a gong show.
It's a fun time though. But in the end, it's a time for you to just become a fat ass.
Yeah, no, absolutely,
it's
absolutely justified. Go. You know what? We're telling you personally right now. Go to the State Fair, get fat, have fun. You deserve it. You've earned it. This has been a busy summer with weddings and family events and lake weekends and all the other shit that you do during the year. You've earned the right to get fucking huge. So do it. Enjoy it.
Yes, seriously. So that's what the State Fair is for, and that's what it cares about.
That's a good transition, actually, to my bit. I have the judgment bit. So if you haven't heard, I don't know if we've announced it yet, we're moving out of the Plymouth 10K house. We're actually getting a studio in Lowertown, St. Paul, right by CHS Field. That's where we're going to run the operation out of. And because we're moving out of this house, I need to find a new home. All of us need to find new homes. And I started touring some apartments around St. Paul. And it's been a while since I've taken like an apartment tour where there's a guided person, because a couple of years ago when we got this house, it was like a lockbox situation where we just typed in a code. We got the keys, which is kind of questionable considering we could have just squatted in that house. Mm-hmm. But basically, I haven't had a guided tour in an apartment since I graduated college in like 2019. So it had been a while. I forgot the moment of the inevitable apartment tour where they walk you to the gym and they show you the fitness facility and all the rooms around it, the yoga room, the bike room, the spin class room, the weight room. And you can just tell by the speed that the tour guide is going at that they know based on your body type that you're not using any of that shit. So it was like kind of it's an uncomfortable moment. They're not trying to judge you, but they know that there's no point in showing you this part of the tour because you're not going to step foot in that fucking weight room.
See, that makes sense. Maybe not necessarily for you, though. Like, you look like you don't look like you work out every day, but you look like, you'll occasionally hit the gym, right? Like I get, though, if, like, someone like Bubba walks in, and you're like, dude, that kid is never using the gym ever. Let's just move on. But
I was going to say it's such a formality they probably have to show, but, like, for someone like a big person like Bubba, they'd be like, yeah, we're just going to skip that part of it.
At the end of the day, we're all human beings, and whether we like it or not, we all judge people. Like, there's no doubt that those tour guides at apartments that have to show off the gym don't, like, have the thought at least cross their mind, these fucking people aren't touching any of this equipment. They look at me, I'm skinnier than a fucking bag of sticks, and they're like, that guy's not, he's never even seen a weight room in his entire life, let alone he's going to use the one in this apartment. So, yeah, but we're making the move to Lowertown here in a couple months. I'll be living there, walking distance from the X. That'll be dangerous. Walking distance from CHS Field. We're going to be St. Paul guys.
But I mean, more than we are now. I would already consider ourselves St. Paul guys, but now we're going to be fully entrenched in the St. Paul culture and just maybe burn that city down.
I'd say in the last 2 years, like collectively, like we've probably gone to like 35 separate Wild games together, and just the last 2 years, like we've probably gone to half the games that have happened in St. Paul the last 2 years. That's crazy to think about.
Yeah, I don't even want to know the amount of time spent in hot Ubers and the amount of money spent on those hot Ubers. So it's kind of funny. Like when we got the studio in St. Paul, I go, perfect. This gives me a reason I've been waiting for a while to move there, because I simply want to walk to Wild games. I go to enough Wild games where I almost have season tickets at this point, and it sucks so much to take an Uber from the west side of Minneapolis all the way to St. Paul, especially during rush hour.
Well, and honestly, Jack, at this point, if you actually get this place, I think it just makes sense to just make the investment into season tickets.
I know. Or at least do the halvesies. If you want to go halvesies on some season tickets with me, shoot me a DM on Twitter, Bossman_10K, or Instagram.
Or do you have someone just send you free tickets?
Or if you have free tickets, you can just transfer them to me. I'll just send you my Ticketmaster account, and I'll give you a laptop sticker.
Yes,
I'll give you a Facebook Gold Star.
Yeah.
I mean, don't tell anyone I told you this, but we have allegedly done ad reads for free Wild tickets in the past.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing, man. Even if you're a business owner and you have Wild tickets and you're like, I don't want to sell these for some cheap-ass price, but I want to get more out of them, then just hit us up, have us advertise whatever you want, and just transfer us the tickets for the game you already can't go to. Bing, bang, bada, boom. You get some customers. Keeps the money moving.
Exactly. As long as you don't tell us what you do and we're not like,
yeah,
you'll be good to go.
If you're a Craigslist assassin.
If you want us to advertise your crypto for Wild tickets, that might be a no. But there's a lot of other things besides that will help.
Your Bored Ape NFTs.
Well, NFTs I think are the biggest.
Yes, you're right. NFTs. Yeah, we're not gonna pitch those.
Damn it! I wanted to.
Well,
Until the 10K one's released next week, boys.
Yep.
Hell yeah. Cash grab. Here we come.
$1,000.
That's how we're going to afford that nice downtown studio.
And digital real estate as well.
Yeah.
You want it.
All right. Let's take a quick commercial break, and we'll get to our interview with Marcus Whitman.
Hello, sports fans. I want to tell you about the easiest way to get some action on sports. It's through the Underdog Fantasy app and their Pick'em game. So just pick higher or lower on your favorite or least favorite players' stats, and you can win up to 20 times your money in a single night. So Underdog keeps it super simple with their easy-to-use website and mobile app. So pick between 2 and 5 players to fill out your pick'em entry, and if you get every pick right, you can take home some cold hard cash. Like that's real money. It goes right into your account. So if you can actually win like 5 times your money in one night.
Allegedly.
Or 20 times.
20 times.
20 times your money in one night if you play their pick'em game. So if you use the code 10K, that's 10K upon sign up, and you will get your first deposit doubled up to $100 by Underdog. So you'll get your first deposit doubled. That's right, folks. Your first deposit doubled if you use promo code 10K, 10K. So if you put in $10, you get 20, 20, 40, 40, 80, 50, 100. You get the gist of it. You should know math. Okay, so once again, that's code 10K on the Underdog apps. Or you can go to www.underdogfantasy.com or click the link below to get your first deposit doubled on Underdog Fantasy today.
All right, folks, welcome back to It's a Bit. We're joined by a special guest. We got Marcus Whitman. He's that franchise guy on YouTube. He's got 90,000 subscribers on there. He's an NFL and NFL draft analyst and a local Minnesota guy. So, Marcus, you got quite the setup there, but it's good to see you, man. Thanks for coming on.
No, I'm stoked to be here. Us Minnesotans got to stick together, so I'm looking forward to it, and I'll try not to talk too much trash about the Vikings here today.
Okay, so I need to ask just from the onset. You're a Twins fan. You're a Timberwolves fan.
Yep.
It seems for the most part you're a Minnesota sports fan. How the heck are you a Green Bay Packers fan?
So you can take it up with my dad. That's his fault. He was a East Coaster growing up. He was like Baltimore Colts originally, then a little Philadelphia Eagles. Came to Minnesota when he was like a senior in high school. Started to kind of like the Vikings, but then went to lacrosse where he was for college. So he started to get kind of indoctrinated a little bit into Packerland. Came back to Minnesota after that, was still a Vikings fan, but after the, the 97 Super Bowl with the missed field goal to go, the 97 season with the missed field goal to go to the Super Bowl. He said, I'm sick of losing case bets with my neighbor who's a Packers fan, and he jumped ship.
Oh, wow.
And I was about 5 years old at the time. So I was born and raised a Packers fan, basically. Not born. I was born a Vikings fan.
Yeah.
To be clear, I have a kid-sized Brad Johnson Vikings jersey. But
Wow.
Well, your dad is a smart man for getting you away from the Minnesota Vikings, man. So shout out to him.
Shout out to Dave.
Well, he found out the secret formula to kind of pry away from that, because
To happiness,
even though,
or
well, that, but like we, as disappointing as we all are, every single year we always go right back to the team. Like last year in the playoffs, like, well, this happens every year. We're pissed off, and then here we are. Oh, Viking season is upon us again. We're gonna have a great time.
I found a video on Twitter of a guy repeatedly taking punches. He had his hands behind his back. I don't know if you saw that. And this other person was just assaulting him, and he was letting it happen. I said, this is what it's like to be a Vikings fan at the start of every season. You just show up ready to take the punches. It's back in the coal mines you go. So it makes perfect sense. It's kind of funny you mentioned, though, about your dad, because my grandpa started as a Packers fan way back in like the inception of the NFL, and eventually switched to be a Vikings fan, and then had season tickets for the rest of his life. So it's crazy how at any age you can just make that switch.
You really can. You are not tied down, but we all have that deep-rooted fandom that makes it tough, for sure.
Well, being that you are a Twins fan, though, so just briefly talking baseball here. Do the Twins? Sure. Do you foresee the Twins, if they somehow pull off the division, which I think they could still at this point?
They should.
They should.
They should.
They fucking should.
Do they win a playoff game, a single playoff game?
Oh, my God. Well, I was looking, and the Yankees are deep down in the standings at the moment, which is a very good indication for us. If they're not in, I like to think we got a chance at least winning a playoff game. But no, I actually kind of fuck with this team a little bit. Like, I think they have a little bit more to them, a little more balanced. Like, I think the pitching especially is better than it's ever been. We got relievers that are throwing 100-mile-an-hour fastballs consistently, which is something I've been wanting to see for a long time. Some of these young kids are getting in the lineup, like Royce Lewis and Wallner, and it's like we might have something building up here heading into September. So I'm excited. My wife and I just got the flex ticket package, so we've been going to a decent amount of games, and I'm pretty fired up, honestly. Even though NFL season's just around the corner.
Dude, Twins games are so much fun to go to, and they're very, very cheap right now too.
Mm-hmm. Go before they get hot. Go before the end of the year when they're getting close to the playoffs, because they'll shoot back up.
Go while Joey Gallo is still on the team.
Yeah, yeah. Jake, you got a novice jersey, and it's funny you mentioned Matt Wallner. I just found out last week that he was recruited to University of North Dakota, where Wags and I went to school. And it was right before we cut the program, and then he ended up going to like Southern Missouri State or something.
Which makes way more sense for baseball.
I was going to say, it probably was the best for him, but it still kind of pisses me off that we cut our baseball program right before a future great Twin, Matt Wallner, was going to be walking the same grounds as us. But it's been fun to watch the Twins. They play the Brew Crew here at 7:10, so we'll see what happens there.
Yeah,
the Brewies,
the Brew Crew.
What are you? So your dad, is he exclusively a Green Bay Packer fan, Minnesota, everything else though?
Yes. I'm trying to think.
Like, what are your guys' thoughts on the Brewers?
He's not a Brewers fan. No,
okay.
He has a little bit of a Reds, fandom because he was such a Pete Rose fan growing up. Which, did you guys know that they can't sell Pete Rose memorabilia?
No, why?
I was out there in Cincy a couple months ago. We went to see them play the White Sox. My wife is from Chicago. She's a Bears and a White Sox fan, so we kind of got everything going on here. But we were gonna get my dad a Pete Rose jersey, and I go up to the guy in the merchandise store, and I was like, "Hey, do you guys have Pete Rose jerseys?" And he just points to the sign on the wall that says, "We are not allowed to sell Pete Rose memorabilia." But everyone's wearing them inside the stadium. That's like the only jersey you see. So I thought that was pretty funny.
What's the reasoning behind that?
Well, he was banned for betting.
He's banned from baseball.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah,
But
so that's
he
that's
was
an
the
MLB
gambling
thing. Yeah,
you would
okay.
just think though, like the Reds would see money signs, right? And they would want to sell the jerseys at the very least.
I think it's probably.
Well, I
the
don't
MLB.
think the MLB lets them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I was
yeah.
gonna say.
I
Yeah.
love how
It's an MLB
every
thing.
sport has like the gambling guy. Like the NBA had the ref. Like baseball had Pete Rose. Football seems to have a lot of people that like doing it.
The
So-
Detroit Lions have Jamison Williams.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just shit. It's always hilarious. Every year it comes out that someone's been gambling.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's coming out more and more. And well, who was it? Jamison Williams, I'm thinking of. But was there another player that was caught gambling? I
Yeah,
thought,
there's
recently?
there's like 8 or so suspensions this year, but it
Yeah,
was
that's
the
crazy.
corner
Yeah.
corner for the Colts. Isaiah
Yeah.
Rodgers
Yep.
did
Yep.
it big time. Calvin Ridley got in trouble for it too.
Yeah.
He was
That
the
was
big
another
one
one.
last year. Yeah.
Yeah.
He got
Yep.
out for he was out for the rest of the year,
Mhm.
right? Like pretty much banned.
Yeah.
For it, yeah.
In Rodgers' case, they don't know if he's going to be allowed to play again because he was betting like decent sums of money on his own team, sometimes to lose. Like I think he had a prop bet. I think he knew like Jonathan Taylor wasn't going to go one night, and he had his buddy put like $1,500 on Zach Moss's over, and that's kind of
Right
that's kinda
before
like
the line
exactly
shifted.
what. Yeah, exactly.
Inside
Christ.
info.
Well,
That's nuts.
Marcus, how did you get into YouTube and content creation in general?
So coming out of college, I kind of knew I wanted to work in sports, but didn't really know which direction it was going to go. And I actually worked for the Wolves on the sales side for about a year, but
I'm
decided
sorry.
that. Oh yeah,
I'm just joking. I'm just joking. It might have been a great job, but it's a Timberwolves.
no, it was fun.
Yeah.
But what I realized was like when you're working on the business side of things, all that means is you just have a regular job, but you can't actually watch the games. So like eventually it just doesn't feel like you're working in sports. So I decided let's give a go at this like sports side of things. Let's see what, throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. So I started a YouTube channel talking Madden, where I talked about why I did that. I applied for Pro Football Focus. So I worked part-time for PFF for a few years. And then there was a local sports agent that I met through school that I was doing some work with too. So I just kind of, left some trails out there. And then after a couple of years, it was actually the YouTube that started to grow, mostly through Madden, but started to get into like breaking down draft prospects, doing weekly power rankings, doing like summer deep dives into each team. And it just kind of evolved into what is now just a full NFL analysis channel. And here we are.
Do you do it full time?
Yeah, full time,
Lucky.
double time.
We're working on that, but it's not easy. But I know you can make some decent amount of money with YouTube as long as you don't swear and steal other people's content.
Yeah.
Which
Damn
is
it.
what we do a lot. Not steal people's content,
not
but
gonna get there.
copyright. That's what we always
Yeah.
get struck with. But I don't know.
The notorious copyright claims.
Yeah,
I hate
they always
those.
get us.
Get
But
those
Brian
emails.
Baldinger is always trying to steal my money with these film breakdowns.
yeah, exactly.
Bro, it's just film. Calm down. Jeez.
Yeah, which no disrespect to Baldy. It's not his fault, but it is funny. It's usually him. It's usually like Brian Baldinger breaks down blah 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 on NFL Network, and I'm like, damn it, Baldy.
Yeah.
So does he claim your content then sometimes on YouTube for it?
Yeah, like the whatever machine they have, like
The
if I use
AI,
a clip
yeah.
that the
AI,
NFL used,
Mhm.
they'll pick it up, and
Yeah.
yeah.
I was gonna say it's probably strong in the algorithm.
They're
There's
really
stuff like
NFL is really good at that because I've used just flashes of clips before in YouTube videos, and they're like, take it down, stealing.
yeah.
Especially like NFL
Yeah.
films. NFL films can like find anything. That's the most incredible one, like the historic footage.
that. Mhm.
Yeah.
But
Fine, yeah.
so you talked about how you're working on a ranking of all the teams or like some preseason analysis. I saw that you had the Vikings as your 15th best team in the NFL. And do you see them winning the division over your beloved Packers? Now you're not allowed to be biased. I know you want to be biased, but as the master of the rankings, who do you think is taking that division?
Well, I did have them higher than anybody else in the division. I think I had
Okay.
Detroit right behind them, 17th, which means I'm a good bit lower on Detroit than a lot of people. I had Green Bay 22 and Chicago, I think 26, maybe 25. They have the best, I would say, I don't know if I'd say they have the best. I don't know. I think they have the best overall outlook, just because their offense is still, to me, the best unit in the entire division. I think Detroit's offense is getting a lot of buzz, but isn't quite where Minnesota's is. And then defensively, I don't love either team, but it's going to be a really tight division. In terms of the Packers, it just comes down to Jordan Love. Like, I think you could make a case the Packers might have the best overall roster on both sides of the ball than anybody in the division. So if Love is good, they're going to be right in the mix. And then Chicago, I'm a little more pessimistic on Chicago just because of their defense. And I'm not the biggest Justin Fields guy, but if Fields hits his upside, they'll be in the mix as well.
Don't say that too loud. Your wife might be listening. You might
no, she's with me. I said the Bears should have taken Bryce Young and got what they could for Fields. And my wife was mad that they didn't do that. So, she's with me on that one.
No sleeping on the couch for you then. Okay.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
Not for that, at least.
You're safe. For that
yeah,
take.
exactly.
Yeah. Not in the doghouse.
So I had a weird question for you. As a Packers fan, I guess, when you see Kirk Cousins as the quarterback of your rival team, are you scared of him? Or I guess, what are your thoughts of his abilities? Like, you're about to face Kirk Cousins. Are you confident that your team is about to do that, or what?
I mean, yeah. I'm not gonna lie. Like, there's no fear factor there. But there are other aspects of the Vikings team that scare me, like Justin Jefferson and some of those great Zimmer defenses for sure. Like, I was like, damn, going to Minnesota, and whether it was in the Metrodome or the early days of US Bank, I was like, man, that's going to be one of our harder games, is going to face that defense. So they don't have that anymore, I guess. But I mean, Jefferson's insane, dude. He's absolutely insane.
What if it's noon and Kirk is seen drinking out of the Gatorade cup? Because the stats around Kirk at noon and him getting seen on the sideline, face first inside of a small Gatorade cup, seems to be his best performances. It's a very weird correlation. I wonder what your thoughts are on that. What if the Packers play the Vikings at noon with the Gatorade cup?
maybe the fear factor's turned up about 10%, I guess. Right? There's something to it.
There's something weird about it.
Yeah. Was it the circadian rhythm or whatever, like, lines up better when he gets to a full night of sleep or something like that?
Yeah. Presented by Sleep Number.
Yeah, the Sleep Number. I don't know if he has some Kohl's cash waiting for him, too, at the end of the game. If he has that on the line, I think you got to be a little scared. You got to be a little scared at Kirk.
If he's wearing that plaid shirt that he wore week one against, as a Packers fan, I would have PTSD seeing that shirt, thinking about the performance they put on the Packers week one wearing that Kohl's purchase shirt.
He was locked in that game. He seemed to have all the answers. It felt like under pressure we would get to him, and then he just somehow consistently knew where to go with the ball in a way that he didn't. He's kind of hot and cold in that way, it feels like, with his decision making, where he's usually pretty solid. Some games he's just like seeing the field like Tom Brady, and then some weeks you're pulling your hair out like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Now, I would assume then you think that, based on your take on Kirk, that you don't think the primetime Kirk myth is dead. You would still think that he doesn't perform well in primetime?
Well, what time was the playoff game?
That was a noon game, wasn't it?
Noon or 3.
3 on Saturday.
Yeah.
It was on Saturday.
Okay.
3 on Saturday.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I mean, has there been a great Kirk primetime game ever?
He had a few in the last year.
Thanksgiving was a good one.
Thanksgiving was a great one.
Oh yeah,
and
because Christmas Eve, was that considered primetime?
Yeah, that was a Saturday
one of the
game.
only games.
But it was Saturday night, wasn't it?
It was Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
Christmas Eve.
That was when they beat the Giants.
The whiteout game.
Yeah, they beat the Giants the first time.
Greg Joseph made like a
63-yard
field goal or something.
But I swear.
But does the fact that it was Thanksgiving change whether or not the primetime matters? Because presumably he got a good meal with his family. And,
yeah, he had the turducken to motivate him. I was going to say, I guess if you throw holidays in there into the primetime category, maybe his numbers don't look great.
And, of course, God is going to let Kirk win on Christmas Eve, right?
Absolutely, he has to.
Yeah.
He didn't play great in Philly, though, and we do play a primetime game in Philly. Luckily, it's on Thursday. I have a theory that Thursday is basically not even a primetime game just because so many people tune out Thursday night football. But the Vikings Thursday night in Philly scares the shit out of me. Repeat of last year. You just gotta wake up thinking about that Monday last year.
We don't have whatever his name was. I'm glad I forgot his name. The tight end.
Oh, Irv Smith Jr.
We don't have Irv Smith to drop a ball though in a crucial time at least. Come on, man. That was brutal. That was brutal. But I
remember watching that game with all my buddies who are Vikings fans, and it was just like total despair because that was week 2, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
It's like you have the highs of beating Green Bay, and then the literal low of the season came right after that.
Well, I was literally saying it was karma for all the Vikings fans ripping on Christian Watson for dropping that because the very next week the same thing fucking happens to the Vikings.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah,
that first play, I remember watching that. I'm like, oh wow, here we go, start of the year, 7-0 down or whatever. It would have been. I forgot if we scored or if that was they had the first possession, but I'm like, oh shit, and they just overthrew him barely, or no, he just dropped it, didn't he?
He dropped it.
Oh yeah,
it was in the pocket. Yeah.
Wow, that was great. That was a fun game.
Yeah, it was.
Maybe for
so
us.
what about you guys? Are you afraid of the Packers at all?
Okay, well, this is probably the first year it's way less than normal.
Yeah.
Every single year we are, but this year we're getting a little confident, but that actually kind of worries me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like what you said, it feels a little better, but I still feel like, and I've told Packers fans this, that I still feel like Jordan Love is just gonna go off for no reason, and they're like, no, he's not, he sucks, blah blah. No, I'm not confident, and I'm like, no, this is what opposing Minnesota teams do in general. Rivalries do. They get a random guy that just goes off for no reason and wins a couple Super Bowls while we have the guys on paper that should be better, and we don't even make the playoffs.
The Vikings also beat themselves more than anyone beats them.
Yeah, we have choked. That's the color of our team.
Yeah. So
and then it just all came back last year in one season. All of the reverse luck just happened in 1 year.
The losses were so bad though that you knew they were going to fall apart in the first round of the playoffs. Didn't think it would happen to the Giants of all teams, but like the loss to Dallas, the loss to Green Bay on New Year's Eve, right?
It was close. It was close to that.
Yeah. The loss to there's another bad one that I'm Philly. Like there were always games where you're like, okay, yeah, this team is gonna get fucked in the playoffs.
Well,
like it's gonna happen.
I like the stat is I think they said like Kirk is the first. I mean the Vikings in general, but Kirk is like one of the only quarterbacks to lead his team where a defense is like bottom in yards per game allowed, points per game allowed, and still go to the playoffs. It was in defense was atrocious last year. Like we made Daniel Jones look like an absolute beast out there for no reason.
Both times we played Daniel Jones, he looked like, and when Mac Jones played the Vikings too.
Yeah, like what are we
the
doing?
Vikings defense made him look like a pro. Do you really think with their new D coordinator that they're going to get things under control there?
Yeah, that's I think one of the biggest improvements any team made around the league. Honestly, like not trying to gas it up too much, but
no, you
so
should.
I had one of my bigger videos last year was how these kind of Vic Fangio style coordinators are screwing things up around the league, and the Vikings were kind of like the worst case scenario of that, where they're playing, these soft zone coverages, allowing free releases, the run defense. I mean, the Vikings were okay against the run, but a lot of times you're just not doing what you can to load the box against the run, and like it came full circle against a guy like Daniel Jones. Where, I mean, the main idea that they want to do with these Fangio-style defenses is, keep everything underneath. If you're going against like a Patrick Mahomes, don't give up these big plays. Force them to beat you like 13 good plays in a row to go and score. But the problem is when you're playing Jared Goff, you're playing Daniel Jones, you're playing Mac Jones, they'll take the underneath stuff all day because that's what they would happily do. They've been coached to like play things to the book. And if you just give free releases into the, soft part of your zone, they're just going to pick you apart. And Daniel Jones totally took advantage of that in the playoffs. He also scrambled all day against them. They had no adjustments to his feet, which is another Ed Donatel problem, was like no adjustments. So you bring in Brian Flores, who all he did was like elevate the defenses in Miami. I had consistently viewed him as like a top 10 or so head coach, let alone defensive coordinator. Now they had to move on from him because of the offense never really took a step in Miami, but just as a defensive coordinator, like even if the talent is a little bit worse and they're trying to get younger, I just think the overall aggressiveness and the ability for them to make adjustments depending on who they're playing that week, it's going to be night and day. So the talent does have some issues there, though, with like the secondary. It's not looking great there.
Well, I want to ask, though, you did rip on Kirk a little bit, and that's okay. He does have some flaws, but I got to ask, have you seen both Hard Knocks and Quarterback? I assume you have.
I haven't. I have not watched Quarterback yet.
Oh,
unfortunately.
wow.
I know I'm trying to get to it. I haven't had enough time to, sit down and watch a lot of shows lately. Even Hard Knocks, I only saw the first episode.
It's I was gonna ask if you thought who is the better quarterback from your perspective between Hard Knocks, between Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins, but having not seen Quarterback, that's hard to obviously answer. But I'm telling you, if you do not gain a little bit more respect for Kirk Cousins after watching Quarterback, you might need to rewatch it or I don't know, reevaluate some things. But I'll just say, like, I don't want to give a lot away, but like it just goes into like in depth about the shit he does. It's like there was a lot of, like, I'm a big Kirk fan, obviously. I think a lot of us are in this room, but there's a lot of stuff that like I didn't even know. I'm like, oh wow, he's actually taking that, that leap or that initiative to do that, and a lot of stuff. A lot of people's eyes were being opened. I think gaining a little bit more respect for him out of it, but a lot of people see him as weak and not a leader and stuff like that, and. But I think that documentary kind of boosts his status a little bit, I would think.
Marcus Mariota,
that he takes the cake of that documentary.
Absolutely, the best of the three.
Yep,
by
he
far.
is, by far. You'll understand once you watch it.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I definitely will get to it for sure. I want to ask you guys a question. So, peak Aaron Rodgers. Let's rewind like 3 or 4 years, 5 or 6 years. When you're a Vikings fan going into that game, what's your psyche like when you had to face that guy?
Honestly, never good. We were never positive. But like I feel like
the defense was never good during peak Aaron Rodgers either, though.
No, Mike Zimmer had some good defense.
It was better than it was now.
Early on,
he was still kind of a stickler on some things, but compared to now, there was that game in 2018, Kirk's first year when. Matt Carlson? What's his name?
No, Daniel Carlson.
Daniel Carlson. I always get fucked up. I mean, rightfully so. We should forget about him. Actually,
he's a great cook. He's doing fine right now.
But Daniel Carlson misses those like 3 kicks to win the game in Lambeau. And that was one of those things where I remember watching the game, like I thought we were in the Super Bowl because like we were playing Aaron, borderline peak Aaron Rodgers at that time in 2018. It's Kirk's first year, and we're going into Lambeau. It's the first or second game of the season, and we end in a tie. And but it's like I will say, like, it's one of those things where when we were close to beating them, especially in Lambeau, and like within the last 5-7 years, we were, for us Vikings fans, it was like we were about to win the damn Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, like Vikings fans don't want to admit it, but there was a few years there where like the best we could do was beat the Packers, and that would be like our Super Bowl. And I know Packers fans to this day will be like, "Oh, your Super Bowl, you guys beat us, congratulations!" But honestly, it was a great accomplishment to beat the Packers during Aaron Rodgers' prime.
Yes,
it's scary how similar that is to like if the Gophers could just beat Wisconsin.
Yes. Last 2 years they've done it. I say we need to hang banners in Huntington Bank Stadium.
Well,
I agree.
Are you a Badger fan?
No.
Okay.
I'm Gophers.
I'm
as big of a Gophers fan as I think you can be.
Yes.
Like it's tough when you'll literally never win a championship.
Yeah.
I know
it's literally never going to happen.
But
so it's like
go on.
He's the biggest Gopher guy in the world, so
yeah, I mean it's fun to get into the rivalries, and I love seeing them like maybe they can have a 9 or a 10 win season and like compete for a Sugar Bowl or whatever the hell that like best case scenario might be. But the thought of them beating an Alabama or a Georgia, it's just not feasible.
It's fucking bananas. But the most satisfying feeling you can feel as a Gopher football fan, though, is watching them hoist the axe and seeing all those Badger fans depressed and sad, like I got to experience being in the student section of Wisconsin this year. There's nothing better than that. So. As great as those bowl games are, and even making the college football playoff would be, I don't think internally there's a more satisfying feeling than beating the Badgers.
I will say one little slightly more satisfying is flaunting the fact that we have 7 national championships.
True.
And Wisconsin has a big fat 0. So I was going to say we may never win a national championship ever again, but at least we have 7. So We were considered one of like the major dynasties of college football at one point. So Wisconsin doesn't have that, do they? No.
Well, and they all happened before the Vietnam War. So
Yeah, exactly. So
it was before history took a turn.
Primetime America.
At least it was before World War II.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Maybe they had some after World War II, I guess I should say.
I think we won the last one in like 1962.
Okay. Yeah.
So like one.
So we have post World War II
we
wins.
had like one.
Hang a banner for that.
So hang a banner, and
one
we do.
after the deadliest conflict in human history.
7 national championships. They have it plastered on the stadium, but we'll see. Wisconsin can't come close to that.
Better dead than red. That's what they say, or Marlboro Red if you're into smoking cigarettes.
Yep.
Mariano.
I love it.
Yeah.
So are you excited then for the opener against Nebraska then coming up?
I mean, I'll tune in. I don't follow the Gophers like off seasons and like I don't really follow like the recruiting and all that stuff. I try to just kind of keep up as they go. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Matt Rule, coach in Nebraska, it should be fun. Hopefully hand in his first loss.
We better.
Yep. Really quick, going back to NFL, some more current news. Where do you think JT might end up? Because it's clearly not with Indianapolis.
I mean, I think the most likely situation is he's back with Indianapolis. Like I would say 70+% chance that happens. I think if they get a first round pick offered for him, they would take it, but they're not going to get a first round pick offered for him. It's just not where the state of the running back value is in the league. If he was coming off that 2021 season, maybe, but he's not. He's coming off a year where he got hurt and wasn't as efficient. But I think if anybody's gonna pull the trigger, Philly came to my mind just as like maybe we could keep him happy for a year. We won't franchise tag him. We'll let him hit the market as like a courtesy maybe, and like just play on the rookie contract, try to win a Super Bowl, run for 2,000 yards and go get your money next year. Like maybe that could be a selling point. Beyond that, though, there's not a lot of teams that have the cap space to dish out the contract he wants. I mean, I did think about Minnesota, but there's so many big contracts looming.
Yeah,
with Jefferson and Darrisaw and
TJ
Hawkinson.
Hawkinson. It's and Daniil. Like Daniil, I think didn't they restructure that so he's set up to be a free agent after this?
Yeah, it's a 1 year like $13.5 million
something like that.
Deal
Yeah.
Something. So yeah, he'll be.
So
up
it's
after
like
this year.
It's like, man, to put a $15 million a year running back contract on top of that would be pretty damn hard. So it really just comes down to the money. No one's going to deny that he's a great player, but there's only a collection of teams that even make sense for him. Maybe Baltimore, but I don't really see that either after they just paid Lamar. So I think he's probably back with Indianapolis.
Irsay is just going to have to be a little nicer of a person and
not as crazy.
Well, by telling JT to go and explore trade options, they're pretty much just saying good luck finding something somewhere else, right?
Yeah, and then he proceeded to pay like $15 million to fucking transport a whale across the country, which that RIP, that whale died. So like he would rather invest it, and I get that that's like a personal expense and like the business is like the business side, but it's just not a good look. So it's a disaster. I hope you're right. I hope he's back, but it also is it's a weird situation. He's showing up to training camp, but he's just wearing joggers because his back's apparently hurting, but he says his back doesn't hurt, but he's not practicing. So it's like, the fuck are we doing here?
The hold in. The running back hold in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's wild.
Okay, so here at 10K Marcus, we're big fans of Cock. Kevin O'Connell, of course, is what we mean. I was just wondering
of course.
Yes, I was just wondering what your thoughts were on Kevin O'Connell and if you think that he has the potential to be a really good coach in the NFL.
Yeah, I like him. I mean, what's not to like? I would say like he's clearly got what everyone's looking for in terms of that like young offensive minded guy. I think the offense is mostly just what they did in LA. I didn't necessarily watch them like I watched Miami, for example, or like when I watched San Francisco or the Giants with Brian Daboll, where I'm like, wow, that was crazy creative. I've never seen that before. Like I think that would be maybe the step behind where it's like, is he a super creative play designer necessarily? But I think he's still a great offensive coach. I think he has a really good feel for like the rhythm and, when to go play action, when to run, when to pass, and like all this different stuff. And I think from a leadership perspective, and he's totally got that. So, yeah, I like him. I think I had him like 13th or 14th in my coach rankings, and growing.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is you'd rather have Kevin O'Connell than Matt LaFleur in Green Bay.
I'm not saying that.
Oh,
we will see though what Matt LaFleur looks like without Rodgers, right?
Yeah.
Like so much of how they design that offense is what Rodgers wants to do, and that could have either helped them or hurt them at times. Like if there's some conflict between what LaFleur wants to do, Love's not going to have the power to like say, hey, let's take this out of the playbook, or I don't want to call that on third down. So we'll see kind of where that meeting of the minds ends up there with him. But I do like LaFleur. I think he's had some questionable like personnel decisions at times that frustrate the hell out of me. I think not firing Joe Barry is one of the most catastrophic, the defensive coordinator for Green Bay, Joe Barry. I think it's one of the most catastrophic decisions a team made this offseason. I thought it was just about as obvious as the Vikings firing Ed Donatel.
Mm-hmm.
Like imagine if you guys kept Ed Donatel after the season you just had. That's basically what we did.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty mad about that. We didn't fire our special teams coordinator, who was known for being his good buddy in 2021 when the special teams lost us the game against the Niners. So it's like he doesn't surround himself with the best coordinators. And then there's some other like player personnel usage stuff that bothers me. So I wish that side of things, his kind of vision from a personnel standpoint was better, which I think O'Connell has had some pretty good vision on that department.
Well, LaFleur just likes being the smartest guy in the room and the most handsome, clearly, because he surrounds himself with a bunch of older.
Well, he doesn't have to try too hard for that.
No, that one's easy.
Well, see, every single Green Bay Packers fan, at least on social media, was just screaming about Joe Barry. What's LaFleur's main reason for keeping him on besides being good friends with him?
money.
No, I think it's just their friends.
Oh, yeah. That's it.
Like,
that's
seriously.
why he's staying.
I really think LaFleur struggles to, be a hard ass at times and like make those tough calls. I really do. And I think he's coaching an organization that invites that kind of behavior where it's like the Packers don't change things.
Yeah.
They keep guys longer than they should. They've done it this is the third straight defensive coordinator where it's like, how the hell are you going to spend every single draft pick, every single pool of free agent money you have to put talent on the defense, but you can't get a good defensive coordinator? It's incredible. You you look at the last three defensive coordinators, Pettin and God, I can't even think of the other Capers, Dom Capers.
Yes,
It's
yes,
horrible,
yes.
horrible defensive coordinators.
That was like the Vikings for years with offensive coordinators.
I think this is the first year in like 6 years that we're gonna have a coordinator going into his second straight year.
Hey.
I think Kirk had a different coordinator. Our offense in general had a different coordinator. I just say Kirk because since he's come here in 2018, he's had a different coordinator every year.
Yeah.
That's not good. That's not going to
tough.
create. That's like having a different.
To be fair though, a lot of that was because the guys were doing a great job and getting hired elsewhere.
That's true.
Sure,
yes.
a couple who is the DiFilippo,
Shermer,
Shermer, but that was before Kirk.
I guess. Well,
That was during Case Keenum.
Stefanski
killed it,
Was he OC?
and then Kubiak just retired.
And then his kid
Yeah.
took it
Clint
over.
Kubiak was a disaster.
He was so I'm just thinking about the disasters. Like I'm being a Minnesota fan right now. I'm thinking about the worst parts of it. But I'm thinking of DiFilippo, Kubiak's kid. Shermer was great, but that was the Minneapolis Miracle season. That was the year before.
Did he go? He went to the Giants right after.
Yeah,
right?
and then he got fired like in the second season, unfortunately. But
Yep.
we still haven't had that consistency. But yeah, a couple of them have got hired and they've done a great job. But it's also just like you want consistency there, and it's been annoying. But I just feel like if we kept Ed Donatel around, I couldn't even imagine the outrage. Like the people outside, there might be people picketing or like protesting outside of Lambeau, I would think. Before the first game.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is Packers fans. Okay, this is one of those things, man. Like Packers fans are literally one of my least favorite like Twitter fandoms out there. They're so unbelievably like team over everything else. Like whatever the team decides to do, they can do no wrong. And like, we're going to stand by the Packers no matter what. And it's just like,
wow.
Well, you can still be a Packers fan and be critical of some of the things they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
it just drives me crazy.
Minnesota
and they're like,
sports
oh,
fans,
I own the team.
Oh yeah,
it's my decision too.
They got the paper. It's kind of funny because Minnesota sports fans are on the opposite end of the spectrum. Like, even if the GM is doing a great job, there's always something wrong. So it's kind of funny. The Packer fans are like, trust the people, trust the team. And Minnesota sports fans are like, burn it all down all the time. So,
well, the difference is the history of the teams. The Packers have won championships.
Right.
Minnesota hasn't, so that explains that for the most part, I think.
We're beating dogs. We haven't experienced anything. So, but it is like I always say, Vikings Twitter is I think one of the dumbest Twitter fan bases of all time, because everything is like, trade up to number 2 to get Anthony Richardson, trade this guy. What? That makes no sense. Or
Will Levis.
There are legitimately people questioning Kevin O'Connell, and then to bring up examples of the Minnesota Wild after they got eliminated. People were legitimately saying, fire Bill Guerin, get rid of Kirill Kaprizov. Like some of our best foundations, that the Wild are our closest team, I think, to winning a championship right now. And you have a foundation, and there are fans literally saying to blow it up, and they're serious about it.
Yeah.
It's same thing with the Vikings, with the Twins. It's ridiculous. So, yeah, we're on the opposite of the spectrum, but I think it's equally annoying both ways.
Yeah.
That's so frustrating to see that.
See, you do a series about literally every single NFL team. I was just wondering, I'd assume the Vikings fans are pretty brutal to you, but like, what's the worst fan base that you've come across in terms of just like coming at you for like not
just this year?
Yeah, just this. Yeah. We'll do it this year.
I think I just pissed off Ravens fans, which is a first for me. I'm usually very, very much in the court of Ravens fans, but I rank the Browns higher than the Ravens.
Oh, they're not going to like that.
They're not. They're not
especially
happy
divisional
about that.
matchup.
Yep. And like I pointed out that the Greg Roman offense in Baltimore, that everybody's ready to kind of see the next evolution. I said, like, yeah, I'm excited to see it, but like they did do some really good stuff with Lamar's legs that might not be there now. So like, we'll see how it goes, basically. So yeah, Ravens fans I pissed off. Over the years, Titans fans have really not liked me.
They suck. Even as a Colts fan, I've been exposed to the little amount of Titans fans, and they just pounce around thinking they're the greatest shit since God became, and for no reason. It's like, you're one of the most random teams in the NFL. Like, the only thing that you're famous for is taking over the Oilers franchise. Yeah, that's it.
I didn't know what city they were actually located in Tennessee till like a few years ago. Oh, they're located technically in Nashville?
Yeah.
I didn't know where they were located.
Oh, I'm glad you said the Titans. Yeah, they can fuck right off. I agree with you.
Well, the Colts too. Their fans fucking suck.
Yeah. Hey. Hey, we're beating dogs too. Yeah.
I did have a run with Colts fans because I thought Darius Leonard was super overrated.
Oh, yeah. See, now I'm triggered.
I had some heated, some triggered Colts fans there.
You'll see my burner in your DMs later now. Not the maniac.
And then Bears fans are pretty freaking crazy this year. I'm not gonna lie, man.
Oh, they think that they're all like, we're winning the Super Bowl.
They're very cocky right now. That's why I was so happy when you said that you put them in last of all the teams of the NFC North. I'm like, I'm very.
It shouldn't even be close.
No,
it shouldn't even be close. They won 3 games last year.
Yeah, exactly.
Justin Fields
was like by far the worst passer in the league last year. If you add his rushing yards on top of his passing yards, he was still one of the least total yards of any quarterback in the league.
Well, what do you think with his new weapons? I mean, where do you think he could be this year?
I think he'll be better. I don't think it's gonna all just magically work in 1 year. Like, he still stares down his receivers. He still makes boneheaded decisions. He still bails from clean pockets. Like, there's so far for him to go, for him to be even where Bears fans think he is now. Like, QB. I think, the average of Bears fans between the crazy ones and the level-headed ones would say he's the 13th best quarterback in the NFL. That'd be a 10 QB leap for him to be that.
Yeah.
This year. So I think he'll be around the 18th best quarterback. I think he'll definitely be better. He'll trust the offense more. Hopefully he can get the ball out quicker. Go with that Jalen Hurts trajectory, getting AJ Brown in that kind of, helps him, see the game a lot faster. And I think there's something to that. Mm-hmm. And maybe in time he gets there, but it's just freaking crazy. I have never seen a quarterback that was legitimately horrible last year get like he's been ranked as like the best quarterback in the NFC. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah, and it's like, okay, dude, yeah, you guys are gonna go out and win a Super Bowl, DJ Moore and Chase Claypool. Like, good luck.
Well, and that's just the offense.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
defense is horrible, and
Yeah.
they did nothing to it because they needed to give Fields like the perfect situation.
The quote unquote perfect.
The perfect situation.
Right.
He's essentially a glorified running back that is going to somehow be the first quarterback since Jim McMahon to throw over no
They've never had a quarterback
to throw over 4,000 yards. I think the closest was Jim McMahon or whatever. I don't know, in the 80s.
Well, I don't think there's anything more funny, though, than even though we just said all those things, he's still maybe the best quarterback in Bears history.
Yeah.
Yes, you're
100%
right.
Especially, for sure, this century. Like, you look at their court, Jay Cutler,
Rex Grossman.
Yes.
I mean, the best quarterback that's ever been a Bear is Andy Dalton.
That's fucking hilarious.
That's crazy to think
really
about.
funny.
It's so weird.
And I don't even think it's close.
The Red Rocket.
Red Rocket.
Oh, my
I mean, Andy
gosh.
Dalton, he's not horrible.
Yeah.
No, he's not horrible
He's
for
had
sure. But
his
he's just kind of like a no context football player. That's funny.
Like, you're right.
Andy Dalton, like
Andy Dalton's not horrible, but if he's the greatest quarterback in your franchise's history, you have a problem.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
And like washed up Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
Which they ended up, at the time did they? Oh no, when he was on the
Fields'
team,
rookie
that
year.
was Fields' rookie year. I was thinking they started Trubisky over.
Oh, they had Mitch.
No, Trubisky was gone.
Okay.
Dalton and that team, that roster was like Andy Dalton's one of these guys that he needs protection and a few receivers to throw to, and they had none of that. So like, what is Andy Dalton actually going to realistically do? At least Fields can run around and scramble and do some stuff. But Dalton went to the Saints the next year and actually played pretty damn well for New Orleans. So like, I think you could make a pretty strong case that he might be the best Bears quarterback ever.
That's so crazy to think of that.
And speaking of Andy Dalton, now he's with Carolina, right? I think.
Yep.
He is on path to both the way he jumps around teams and his facial hair be the next Fitzpatrick.
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
He's on his way. He's growing the beard. He's been on every fucking team in the last 5. He's been switching teams. He's on track to be that guy. Just whoever needs me, I'll be there. He's like a superhero.
He's like the Colt.
Now we just got to get gold chain and get Deshaun Jackson out.
Yeah.
There we go.
Well, this year.
Right.
I would think there's almost some sort of curse though, because he started obviously with the Bengals, and who was another quarterback that started with the Bengals and just started snowballing down in his career and going to team after team. It was Carson Palmer.
Yeah.
At the end of it, I mean, he might have been. And he was a decent quarterback, but he stayed there, couldn't win a playoff game, kind of like Andy Dalton, but then would just bounce from team to team until he retired and just did nothing.
Yeah. Carson Palmer.
Palmer had a really good finish to his career. Though.
Went to the Super Bowl, right? Did he not? Or
As a backup.
No, he was a starter.
No, he went to Arizona and almost won an MVP.
Yeah,
in the back end of his career.
Throwing to Larry,
Larry
Fitzgerald. Yeah,
that's right.
Those teams were good, man. They beat the Packers in that crazy game where it went to overtime. Packers lost the coin toss because they never win the coin toss.
And Larry Fitzgerald took it over from there, right?
Yep, Larry Fitzgerald took it like 60 yards. And then they lost, I think, to
Pittsburgh.
Whatever team went to.
No, it wasn't Pittsburgh.
Would that have been Atlanta, maybe? No, not Atlanta.
He did play with Oakland as well, which I forgot about.
That's where he went after Cincy, and he was not good for Oakland.
No.
Not at all. And then it was Derek Carr, I think, that took over. Yeah, I didn't mean to trigger anything when I brought up Carson Palmer.
No, you're fine.
No, you just don't disrespect Carson Palmer.
Don't disrespect.
I just have
liked
a very
Carson
fond
Palmer.
memory of those Cardinals teams. So
I just kind of felt like that was Andy Dalton taking almost the same path. Well, maybe he'll have a stellar year to end his career, I guess.
Yeah.
Just like the Carson Palmer.
Who knows?
Andy Dalton.
Who knows?
I have a Packers question for you. A lot of Packer fans hate the Seahawks even more than they hate the Vikings. Are you the same way, or no? Is the Vikings number one enemy?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, there was a couple years there where, I mean, there's not a team since I've been a Packers fan that scared me more than those prime Seahawks Legion of Boom teams.
Oh, yeah.
And those defenses were literally scary.
Yeah.
Cam Chancellor with the visor and Wagner and that pass rush and Sherman. And like I hated them because I was jealous of their success, but I like the Seahawks. Like I really do. Like I like Pete Carroll. Richard Sherman grew on me over the years. Like their jerseys are freaking awesome.
Yeah.
I like Seattle as a city. Like I mean I've got the Seahawks helmet.
You got the helmet.
I rotate these jerseys, but I have a signed Metcalf jersey.
Oh,
Nice.
hell yeah.
So I definitely rep the Seahawks.
Yeah. I was going to say, though, for Packer fans who hate the Seahawks, you could probably just blame Brandon Bostic on that, right?
Oh, yeah.
A lot of them
bringing that up.
Yeah, a lot of them are still mad at the Fail Mary as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So I don't know if you guys saw my tweet about this. I noticed I was walking into a restaurant to get takeout, and they had the NFL Network up, and I see you know how NFL Network does the like the Players' Choice games over the summer. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
Where like a player gets to showcase a game. Usually it's like, oh, I had 3 sacks in this game, or I beat Sauce Gardner for a touchdown in this game, or whatever it is. Amon-Ra St. Brown picked that game.
The Fail Mary.
The Seahawks Packers playoff collapse.
There we go. That.
Which
wow.
It's like that is maybe the best rival player troll I've ever seen. He would have been like 15 at the time. Had nothing to do with the troll.
Wow.
I watch that game once a year just to feel good as a Vikings fan. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie.
Christmas
I
tradition.
can't even think about it, dude. I just laid down face first on my bed for an hour. I couldn't even move. It was like,
That was the NFC Championship game,
how did
right?
that happen?
That was a big time game.
What year was that?
They were
again?
up 16-0 in
like
Seattle as 7-point underdogs
26.
with 4.5 minutes to go. And haha Clinton Dix, or it might have been Morgan Burnett, but we had just picked off Russell Wilson. So we got the ball back with 4.5 minutes to go.
Yeah.
Up 16.
That's like
and
a
they
Vikings
lost.
collapse, dude.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
It statistically doesn't even make sense.
That
but it
sounds like a
happened.
Vikings loss, except you've experienced it once. I think we've experienced games similar to that extent. Maybe not that bad, but we've experienced like a lot of small, brutal losses like
nothing,
that.
but yeah, nothing
times.
on that scale. Like even the Gary Anderson thing, that didn't happen to basically end the game.
No, we still had a
that
chance
was the
to win.
beginning of the end.
Which is crazy because growing up, I was always taught that missing the field goal is why we lost. I didn't know that we were actually leading and that they had.
No, it was the defense's fault.
That's
Right,
crazy.
they didn't show up in overtime.
Right, but they still
It was
that
a momentum
field goal.
thing,
That
yeah.
field goal, he had made every single field goal that season. I think going back to the season prior to, and it was a routine kick for him. And if he makes it, it's a 2-possession game with like 2 minutes to go.
Right, it basically seals the coffin.
It seals the game essentially. And then the Brett Favre throwing an interception when all he had to do was maybe run out of bounds in the 2009 game, or we could give ourselves a Ryan Longwell 50-yard field goal attempt, which we don't know if he makes, but like, what the fuck was that? You're watching that, and then
Blair Walsh wide left.
jeez, that was against Seattle.
It's one
too.
thing for like one play to like be that backbreaking reason you lose, but yeah, when it's like a series of events, like, you know, 2 long touchdowns, an onside kick recovery, a 2-point conversion where, like, I shit you not, if haha Clinton Dix, all he had to do, he was in good coverage. We had forced pressure on Russ. He scrambles to the right side of the field in desperation, just heaves it to the left corner of the end zone. And haha Clinton Dix is right there. And if he just does this, they break it up and the Packers win that game.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, he just watches it. Like, hello? Like, what are you doing?
It's the playoffs.
And then you lose the coin toss. So Rodgers actually had to lead a field goal drive on a bum ankle. This is everyone always says Rodgers isn't clutch, right? Well, after all this shit happens, the Seahawks actually had taken the lead. Rodgers had to lead a field goal drive to send it into overtime with 40 seconds to go on a bum ankle against the best defense in the league in Seattle. That's just like, I can't even imagine how loud it is in there. He gets them in position for the field goal, actually forces overtime, and then they lose the coin toss, and like 2 plays happen on a Tyler Lockett bomb, and Packers don't get to touch the ball and they lose because the overtime rules are just the bane of my existence.
Yeah, they're never right.
Hey, well, they finally fixed those rules, right? So now
they didn't though.
Oh, I thought both teams
they
would
didn't
have a
though. They're
chance,
still
right?
bad. They're better, but they're
You're
still
right.
bad.
You're right. They still are bad overall. I'll give that to you.
Yeah. Final question I had for you. do you have Madden 24 and is it worth buying? I've seen the videos of the glitches. They're fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
There was a glitch where like the letter I wasn't populating and everyone's name on the Cleveland Browns.
And I've seen your video too, Marcus, where you went over franchise mode, and franchise mode is better. But I'm wondering, is it gotten better enough to the point where the game is actually worth buying for someone who really loves franchise mode?
Yeah, I mean, the way I describe it is like it still sucks that it's a yearly release, that they have the the exclusive license, and it's still probably not what it could be. But to EA's credit, and I've gotten to meet a lot of the guys that work on franchise mode, and they care desperately to make that good. And they've done a really good job over the last like 3 or 4 years to like put it in a good spot where it has a lot of new features, and like you'll get new experiences as you play different franchise modes. I'm pretty happy with where it's at. Like, it's still growing. They've shown that they actually care about that part of the game now, unlike they did from like 2015 to like 2020.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's probably worth it. I'm also kind of the opinion that's probably not popular, but like, you pay $70 for a video game and you play it for months. Like, that's a pretty good value.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll go out to eat and it's, $100, and it's like, okay, like a video game for 70. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but I get that, some people have different expenses available for them, but I would recommend it if you are looking for a franchise experience. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. I might actually get it now. I was waiting for this conversation before pulling the trigger.
Well, and when was the last Madden you played too?
Well,
like,
see,
when was the last one?
I bought the last one, but I bought it like 3 months ago when it was like $10. So
yeah,
it was fun, but like again, I only played it for maybe 3 weeks, and I was sick of it already because it was just like the same as every other game. It felt like at least like the scouting was different and stuff like that, I guess. But that was about it.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, they could do more with it. I wish they would do like bi-yearly releases and just charge for like a roster update, because then they actually have time to work on the game.
Yeah,
right.
Because right now it's like the devs have like 4 months to get everything new into the game, which I can't even comprehend how to code a video game. Like, I can't imagine how difficult that is. And that's why you get all these bugs, because they're rushing this shit into the game. And it's like, just don't release the game every year.
Do
every other year.
Do something between Madden, what they're doing now, and like Grand Theft Auto. Meet somewhere in the middle there. Because Grand Theft Auto is like a fucking decade, but the games kick ass. So I don't know.
And I think they did it with haven't they done that with the golf games now? I think they had PGA 2K21 and then PGA 2K23.
Those will still never be the same though as when EA Sports made them.
Which they did. EA Sports just made a new one this year.
Oh, so they made the game this year?
Yeah, they made a game. Yeah, okay. And I actually got it because it was on sale and it's actually pretty a little entertaining.
Does Madden have like a battle pass or season passes or no?
No.
Okay.
No.
I know all like the 2K golf games, like that has a battle pass. NBA 2K24 has like a season passes or whatever. So it's just getting ridiculous. All these games that have these fucking seasons.
And you have these kids who buy them and spend hundreds of dollars on them, like the battle pass in Fortnite. Yeah.
No, if Madden did that doing a yearly release with a battle pass, people would lose their mind.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like, dude, they're already making so much money with MUT though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ultimate Team and all that.
Yeah.
Are you one of those Madden players where if like the Packers lose a disappointing game that you'll just go and try to replay that game on lower the difficulty and win like 150-0? Like, I've seen those videos where the guys like breathing really heavily.
And they take a screenshot of the final score and they tweet it and they're like, "Oh, look what happened in alternative timeline."
Yeah, no, I mean, the more I've done this job, the less I've had that like crazy fan mentality about it. But yeah, dude, back in like late high school, early college days, like I couldn't listen to sports radio if they lost. Like, and like I remember I went to St. Thomas, and when the Fail Mary game happened, I just literally went out in the dark and just sat in front of the goalpost for like an hour and a half and just stared at the stars. I was like, this can't be real. Yeah. It was like a week 2 Monday Night Football game. It meant nothing, but I was just devastated.
You're either hearing, and in your head, you're either hearing "Everybody Hurts" by REM or "Mad World."
Yeah.
Yes. For me, it'd be Mad World. I think.
Yes. Yeah. I have heard that in my head, like after a disappointing
Absolutely.
loss. Like, who's playing that song?
My final question for you here is, obviously you're an NFL, YouTube, and just in general content creator. Do you ever get sick of football?
No.
You don't?
Oh, wow.
That's awesome, dude.
No, I think, being a YouTuber there's so many sides of it. Like, I'm not just watching football. I have to edit. I have to record. I have to market. I have to do all these other different things that, like, it kind of goes in cycles where, like, once I've had enough football, it's like, okay, I'm now editing. Like, I'm not, I'm wearing so many different hats that it's just kind of all an enjoyable process, I would say.
Awesome.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I think it'd be hilarious if, like, I've seen your page, you're going to watch some videos, like, you're just putting out, constant weekly, daily videos, football. I think it'd just be funny if you came out and just said NBA power rankings, NHL power rankings.
Slip one in there.
Ranking the top
wing
5.
it.
Yeah.
Ranking the top 5 NHL players in 2023.
Number
Like,
one,
just,
Marion Gaborik.
Yeah.
I love it, dude.
I don't
You
know.
might see that.
I don't know if fans would just get upset. I'm sure you'd have a couple fans. Where the fuck is the football content? Or
I'll upload it at the same time as like an NFL one, right next to it, and then immediately like 2 hours later upload another NFL one. It's like, wait, did you do a hockey thing there? You're like, no.
But yeah,
What are you talking about?
completely wing it, but act like you know what you're talking about too. Like just go go all in.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'd be hilarious.
I might have to do that. That's. I think like NBA power rankings would be the thing to do because there's enough people that like I know just enough that I could wing it, but I don't really follow the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say some just ridiculously stupid thing.
Yeah,
And it would be really funny.
Or just look at last year's standings and go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from like the top to the bottom. Just
Power
make
rankings.
it blatantly obvious that you just looked at numbers
Yeah.
and that determined your ranking. That'd be the best.
Yeah.
That'd be unreal. Really quick, I think we touched on this like at the beginning of the interview a little bit, but going into the 2023 season, should Vikings fans be scared of Jordan Love at all in any capacity?
I think you should be afraid of the idea that he becomes good in time. Mm-hmm. I would say this year's going to be a little bit more up and down, most likely, but in time, I do believe in his upside. I was a big believer in him coming out. I think he's shown the growth. Like when you watch him on the field last year, like the ball's getting out, he's more accurate, he's more confident. Like I really think there's a lot there, and some of the decision making, like there's going to be some ups and downs this year for sure. But like he's got a real chance to be a franchise quarterback and a difference maker. So yeah, I think they should be prepared to be afraid.
Yeah. He'll be chance to become a Hall of Famer himself, like the last 2 quarterbacks, and he'll be a Viking in 15 years.
Yeah.
Just like
maybe they'll actually put a defense around this one.
Yeah, and Rodgers coming to the Vikings next season. It's just history repeating itself. We'll see.
Right.
That'd be unreal if that actually happened.
Yeah.
That'd be crazy.
Oh my goodness. We live in a
You never know, and then he commits tax fraud in the state of Missouri.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I got a great sports trivia question, maybe to wrap things up here.
Yeah, let's
that is a great one. What is the last stadium that and you guys probably know this, but what is the last stadium that Brett Favre ever played a football game in?
Huntington Bank Stadium, formerly known as TCF Bank Stadium.
Correct. Yes.
Really?
Was it against the Bears? Or
I can't remember who it was against.
But I know he got like brutally concussed, and you could tell he was just done. Like he
just hit the ground and was like, "Yep, that's it. That was the hit that did it."
He was already having just an atrocious year after that great year in 2009. Like, I mean, and then he was done.
It was like, I'm gonna be done and do the volleyball thing.
Yep, his football career was dead.
And the tax fraud thing.
Tax fraud.
That sounds more fun than what's going on right
Wasn't
now.
there like the penis pictures
in New
scale
York
thing too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Who was he? He was sending him to one of the
cheerleaders for the Jets, right? Something like that.
I thought he sent one to like a famous reporter.
He probably did that actually.
I mean, that's going to be a pretty low bar for Rodgers to not be the more controversial figure in the media,
right?
Than among former Packers quarterbacks going to the Jets.
And
for all of his off the field drama.
Yeah. Exactly.
He might not top Brett Favre.
He might not.
He's done some shit, but he's got to like do 5 times as much, I think, to hit Brett Favre's level.
And that just speaks to the amount of shit that Brett Favre
did.
Like
you could say what you will about some of the stuff Rodgers has done, but like he's never once like
He's
faced,
not a bad guy.
He's not.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
he's never like faced criminal charges.
No,
before. Like,
he hasn't sent grotesque
like, okay,
pictures.
he does some weird shit in the off season. Cool, like that's what he likes to do. Like it's not like he's frauding volleyball teams.
He's
like,
just
universities.
He's just showing up to training camps looking like Nicolas Cage,
Yeah,
or he
exactly.
came out of a cave. I don't know.
I do. I know we keep bringing more in here, but I do love that he's now cutting his hair,
Yeah.
respecting the media. He's practicing in late April or whatever. He's going to be playing in a preseason game next week. He took a pay cut all so that he can say F you to the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah,
and win a
pretty
Super Bowl
much.
for the Jets.
As a Vikings fan, I respect the spite right now.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And it kind of reminds
And he's
me
always
of,
at
like,
his best when he's like that, right?
100%.
I
So what
I
happens?
can't wait.
It's,
I can't wait to see what he does.
it's like when you join the Yankees. It's like you cut your hair and you act like a respectful adult. Like
And you somehow get better.
yeah, there's something about New York that just straightens you out a little
Yeah.
bit. So
Mhm.
Gross.
yeah, sweet. Well, Marcus, this has been a blast. Before we let you go, we got to run you through just 10 rapid fire questions that we ask every
Okay.
guest. If you're ready. All right,
I'm ready.
You're on a deserted island for the rest of your life. You can have one alcoholic beverage of choice for the rest of your time on the island. What is it?
Old fashioned.
Old fashioned. Nice
great
choice.
yes.
How many fourth graders could you fend off in self-defense?
I'm gonna go like 9.
9?
There we go,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a pretty big guy. I think I could take on 9.
All right. Do you prefer Minneapolis or St. Paul?
Minneapolis.
Would you rather slap a random child or your own grandmother?
Random child.
There
Random
we
child.
go. Yeah.
Does pineapple belong on pizza?
I've never had a strong opinion on this, but I usually stay away from it when it is on a pizza spread. Does that suffice?
But if there's only one thing of pizza and it was pineapple, would you eat it?
Yeah.
You would?
Okay.
Okay. So you're
Yeah.
not like as crazy opposed to it like
Yeah.
some people are.
Like
though.
No.
it can be okay.
It's pretty far down on the list, though.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yes.
Yeah.
If you were given an all expenses paid trip to Cleveland, would you take it?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. A lot of people say
What's
no
wrong
to
with
that.
Cleveland?
I don't know.
I've been to Cleveland a couple times. It's not that bad.
It's I don't know. It's like one of those places where it's so random. You just ask and you just see what you
So
get.
they have one nice street of bars that's a lot of fun, and you can go to Canton, go to see the NFL Hall of Fame.
How far is
It was a good
Canton
weekend.
from Cleveland?
35, 40 minutes.
Oh, okay,
okay.
It's not
So
horrible.
you could go to the Hall of Fame
That's
game.
not Cleveland,
sit in
though.
the dark for a little bit.
I'm just joking. the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's there, too. People always mention that. Or
Yeah.
Yeah,
something.
it is. Yes.
Yeah.
Jared Goff or Kirk Cousins?
Cousins.
There we go.
Okay.
Least favorite fast food place?
Oh man, I have a couple. This is controversial, but I'm gonna say Chick-fil-A.
Really?
Wow, that's the first
That's the
Chick-fil-A
first.
we've
That's the
ever
first one we've gotten.
I just think lines are way too long.
That's fair.
That's true.
That's fair.
Same with Canes.
Yeah,
super long
yeah.
lines.
Are
I
super
love
long.
Canes though.
It's
I love
Canes
Canes.
is
So you
money.
can find the loophole.
Yeah.
You just order on an app and walk in.
Right.
And I don't know if Chick-fil-A has that intuitive of a system. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I guess what was your best and worst draft take ever you can think of?
Best draft take was Kyler Murray. Before anyone was even talking about him as a draft prospect, because he had been drafted by the A's, I said the Cardinals, who had just taken Josh Rosen, are going to draft him with the number 1 pick and get rid of Josh Rosen. And that was
Spot
way
on.
ahead
Yeah.
of the curve.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then worst draft take, it's got to be Herbert. Like, I didn't see it. I compared him to Mitch Trubisky. So
Yeah.
it's quarterback related.
Yeah.
I mean, he is a little overhyped, I think, slightly, but he is pretty damn
He's
good.
pretty damn
He's
good.
pretty good.
Yeah.
I think he is. A lot of people do talk about him like he's Tom Brady, though, and he's not.
Well, and honestly, like,
He is kind of the he can do no wrong, love
Yeah.
child of the NFL.
Yeah, he is over. I think he is a little overrated, though, slightly. But
well,
Mhm.
and I don't envy you at all being someone who analyzes the draft, because there's people who paid millions of dollars to do it and they can barely do it, right? So
Yeah.
look at Mel
Yeah,
Kiper.
you just gotta go into it knowing you're gonna have your misses, and people are going to come at you for it. And it's just, once you've done it for a couple of years, you're kind of just like, yeah, have your fun. Like, you're right. I was wrong, but it happens. You can't, if someone could, NFL GMs hit lower percentage than a lot of draft analysts. So it just is what it is.
Right. The final one, if you're a baseball ump, give us your strike 3 call.
Oh, gosh. That's embarrassing.
Yeah.
You just sent us out on it. All right. What do I want to go? It's probably like a
There you go.
Ump language.
It's always one of those questions where you just never know what you're gonna get. So it brings a lot of diversity.
I was an ump in like elementary school or no, in like a high school ump, so I should know my answer, but I don't.
I love it when they just make noises, right? Like,
yeah,
exactly.
Or it's like delayed, and you're like, is it a ball strike? And all of a sudden, you see him step out and just some huge movement.
Like a non-verbal one too is always good.
Yeah.
But Marcus, thanks so much for joining us, man. Where can people find you and find your channel?
The YouTube is That Franchise Guy on YouTube. Hoping to have a weekly show with Matthew Collar coming. Yeah. So Vikings fans can look forward to that. And then you can find me on Twitter at TFG_football.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate all the time you took to kind of walk us through stuff, and we'll make sure to tag in the tweets the day of the Viking-Packer game, just in case. But unless bad things happen, then you won't hear from us.
Yeah, we'll be very quiet. Yeah.
We'll play the
boys are ready for Jordan Love season.
Oh, shit.
We're prepared.
Shit, we're already prepared for whatever it could be.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me, guys. It was a ton of fun.
Yeah, anytime, man. Thanks for joining us. All right, welcome back to It's a Bit, folks. We're going to draft the most random Minnesota athletes. I also just got to read this on the air because I just saw, it's not breaking news, but there was a security guard at Taylor Swift's Eras Tour in Minneapolis that says he was fired by the security company he was working for after asking fans to take pictures of him standing in front of Taylor. I've never took my own phone out, and above all else, I made sure that Taylor Swift was safe and all the fans had a good time. As long as I was at that concert, I was doing my job. So, some interesting developments coming. That's what happens when you rename the city to fucking Swiftapolis. Yeah, this is what we deserve. Now guys are losing their jobs. It was a disaster. It started raining. It was the only time we got rain in July. Mm-hmm. Then I had to mow the grass, and the neighbor and myself were bitching back and forth about it.
I'm telling you, we just can't. Taylor Swift just causes a swarm of bad luck.
Just gets way too wet around here.
Don't say that to Justin Gard because he will get upset.
I'm sorry. It's just the fact.
And
it's
allegedly Bill Belichick.
Oh yeah, he's a big Swift.
He's like, she put up an amazing performance up there
in the rain. Yeah,
but he's a dog, and greats respect greats, right?
Yes, they do.
He knows hard work when he sees it. It's not coming from Mac Jones.
Oh no.
All right.
I mean, we don't need to talk about Mac Jones.
No. We've already talked enough NFL with Marcus, but let's get into our final segment here. We have drafting the most random Minnesota sports athletes. So this can be players of any type, of any teams, and random meaning like someone that is not in the history books. They probably don't have murals painted of them. They're probably not MVPs or Hall of Famers. Maybe they're Hall of Famers, but just like who's the most. I don't know. How else would you describe it?
You're perfectly. They're
random.
Someone names a team and you just randomly name
like,
a player who pops in your head.
I forgot about that guy.
Yeah,
that's
it comes to your head, like kind of the first thing when first player when someone tells you or like says a team name to you.
Yeah,
I don't know.
So, and I guess like none of these players can be currently playing on the team, really, right? I mean that makes the most because it's not nearly as random if it's Kirk Cousins, it just doesn't make sense.
Think back there. Yeah, I was gonna think that there were some guys that are on my list that I'm potentially gonna draft where I'm like, oh yeah, back then they were kind of like, oh, you would know who he was.
Extremely relevant.
Yes. Relevant. Then. They had some good games. They might have been the best player, but now you think back like, oh my gosh, they were on the team.
Yeah. Right.
They existed. They were an athlete in Minnesota.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a shot of nostalgia. Yeah, we're going to do 5 picks. We'll let Jake run it.
Okay.
Us 3.
You better be last after you basically gave yourself
the
victory.
I have a predetermined order.
Okay, with the last draft,
I
though,
will
was,
say I
was
don't think-
backyard sports athletes, and like whoever got first was going to win just 'cause
Right,
of
and
Pablo Sanchez.
I was gonna say I don't think I was first overall in a while, so I'm like
That's fair. You weren't. Yeah,
I
you definitely weren't.
not ever. So
By the way, we learned the lesson the hard way. We got to start doing the graphic in draft order.
Yeah. Shit, I got roasted for that one.
Oh
We're-
yeah, because didn't someone think like how did whoever you had on the further left they thought on the graphic they thought was the first one
And
up,
one
and
of
they're
our-
like,
one
how do you
of-
not pick Pablo Sanchez?
One of our very own Kevin Olm was the one who, or Adam Oz was like from Third and Forever was like, why wouldn't you put it in the draft order? I'm like, because I fucking do a lot around here, Adam, and I don't always consider everything. I'm sorry, I'm a human.
I never really considered that, but like Adam's a big football guy, so he's therefore a
He was
big
probably
draft
pissed.
guy. So he was probably very mad about
What
it.
Adam doesn't understand is that we use the same exact template for our rankings, which has nothing to do with drafting. So we
Correct.
can use that just template fine. But you're right. When a draft gets involved, I think starting now going into the future, Jack will try to probably do the correct order.
It's a lesson learned, and also we did learn last time too, and we implemented it that we're doing a snake draft.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's fair for the person who's in third
There we
Sure.
go. I like
Yes.
it.
or fourth,
I like
depending
that.
on how many people do the draft. But all right,
I like
Jake.
it. All right.
Take us off.
Doon, ding, doo, 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 ding, doon. With the first overall pick in the most random Minnesota athletes draft, Bossman selects
Weldy Moore.
Moeldy Moore. I don't even know. I forgot who that is.
He was a backup running back for the Vikings, maybe a starter at one point, and then returned kicks.
What years?
Oh, shit.
This is done-
I was
Uh,
gonna say,
actually,
that's such a
specific,
random.
I'm going to have Google ready pulled up for this
Yeah.
segment because there's going to be a lot of question marks. Weldy Moore.
Educate us.
Yeah, so he played for the. I just remember going to Vikings games with my grandpa growing up in the dome and thinking the fireworks were so loud and that I was scared of all the penises in the trough and getting blown out of the dome. I always think of Weldy Moore. So Minnesota Vikings. He was selected by the Minnesota Vikings with the 23rd pick of the 4th round of the 2004 draft.
Okay.
He went to Tulane University and he played with the Vikings. Oh man. So let's see here. So he was drafted. What year was he drafted?
Was he drafted in
2004 is what you said.
2004. But
04.
he doesn't have. Oh, okay. You have to hit show now to see the years.
I was gonna say
It doesn't show how many years he played with the Vikings.
It should be in like his general bio on Wikipedia.
I'll go ESPN. Wikipedia let me down there.
Um,
Not gonna give now.
yeah, I would think it would only been like till I'm gonna guess till like 06 or 07 because like Chester Taylor was the backup in like
so
07.
2004 through 2007.
Okay.
Weldy Moore was on the Minnesota Vikings.
I was gonna
so,
say that's very accurate because of the Chester Taylor era
Yep. All right.
/ AP. All right. Doon, ding, doo, 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 ding, doo. With the second overall pick in the random Minnesota athlete draft, Wade selects.
Jason Tyner.
Oh, yes.
Minnesota Twins.
Yep.
He's kind of part of the Piranha squads. I remember it was really big with me growing up is he was actually how I learned how much money MLB players made. Because remember, he barely played. He was a backup. I think he hit one home run his whole entire career, right? I remember like searching and like seeing his salary on MLB The Show growing up, and he was getting paid like $2 million to barely even play. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? They're getting paid that much to be a pro athlete? And I remember that's kind of when I wanted to be a pro athlete. So Jason Tyner is memorable for me for a very specific reason.
No, that I remember. I remember watching game very, very vividly on TV. They were on the road, and it was like 2006, and someone behind home plate. You couldn't see them actually in view, but they were just ripping on Jason Tyner the whole game. Like they hated Jason Tyner.
It was like the guy you ran into with the Joey Gallo thing.
Yeah. But, like, I think this is even worse because Jason Tyner was probably less relevant than a Joey Gallo at the time. I don't know. Maybe that's up for debate.
Way more people probably know who Joey Gallo is than
Then-
whoever knew who Jason Tyner was.
Exactly. But I just remember someone was just absolutely like, fuck you, Jason. You could hear him on the TV broadcast. I'm like, why Jason Tyner? That makes absolutely no sense. But I just remember that name. I'm like, Tyner, nice. Cool.
Jason Tyner, yeah.
That's just a
good
weird
one.
name. That is a great name. All right. Ding, ding, doo, 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 ding, doo. With the third overall pick in the random Minnesota athletes draft, I myself, JJ, select Toby Gerhart,
It's a great pick.
Minnesota
Yeah.
Vikings.
Great pick.
The big white dude from Stanford.
I forgot about Toby.
He's Toby Gerhart. And I remember he had one the one year we made it to the playoffs with Christian Ponder, we were 6-6 and went 10-6, and I think AP was out, and Toby Gerhardt actually helped lead the Vikings to the playoffs that year until Christian Ponder got hurt, and then Joe Webb came in and lost. But yeah, Toby Gerhardt.
Holy shit.
That's a guy that came to mind when I thought of the Vikings.
100%.
Toby Gerhardt.
Yep.
This is so weird. At the time, I was like, oh, he was kind of relevant. You come in for AP a lot, but I was thinking back to it, like, what the hell happened to him? He just
he just
left.
fell off the face of the
So
earth.
that's why I'm like, he is a very random athlete.
Growing up, the Vikings, AP would do down 1 and 2, and you'd put Gerhardt out there for third down and short, and you let him get that first down.
Well, it's kind of like with him, but then it was like, where did Chester Taylor go? And then you just see this big white dude come in.
He was
decent.
number 45 too.
Yeah.
He didn't even have like a typical running back
He's
number.
very, very strange. He looked like a fullback. He wasn't super fast, but he was built and he was decent. But he was just so random.
I'm going to look up his career right now. So he was with, if you go to ESPN
He had to just be Vikings, right?
stats, he was with the Vikings from 2010 through 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Then he was with Jacksonville from 2014 to 2015, where he retired.
Okay, wow. Yeah, he's done.
You know what's crazy?
It's over.
He probably made a shitload of money for being like a very average, kind of good at one-time running back.
For like a year.
And he had the typical running back career. He starts at age 23 and he ends at age 28.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's a good one. That one made me laugh. All right,
Snake draft. So
all right,
who's
yep.
up
you get to
again.
go again.
Ding. With the 4th overall pick in the random Minnesota Athletes draft, I myself, JJ Select. It's between two guys, but I might have to go with him because he might be more random than anyone else. Brendan Harris on the Minnesota Twins. Do you remember Brendan Harris? Because I remember my younger brother would always use his name as an excuse to try to say ass. He'd be like, Brendan Harry ass. And I'm just saying Harris, Dad. Brendan Harris. Josie remembers Brendan Harris. I remember he had a few home runs at the Dome. Whenever I went to a game, he always hit a home run for no reason. Brendan Harris, though, just so random when I think of him. So,
Yeah.
Twins guy. Just, back at the Dome. During the years where we played like Detroit and went to game 163, or we're fighting the White Sox in September to win the division, and those games at the Dome were actually electric, like the 2007 through 2009 era. Like, he was a part of those teams. So, Brendan Harris.
Brendan Harris.
All right. With the 5th overall pick in the random Minnesota Athletes draft, Wag selects.
With Alexander Daigle growing up for the Minnesota Wild. He was the most random player to have on the team because he was a 1st overall pick. Everyone thought he was going to be the shit. He was drafted by Ottawa, and he got to the Wild, and everyone in Minnesota was like, okay, we got fucking somebody, right? And he just turned out to be the biggest bust in NHL history.
Is that how you pronounce his name? Wasn't it like Jagel or Daigle?
Well, see, it's spelled Daigle, but I remember growing up, all the announcers would just say Dag.
Yeah,
remember
that probably is, because all hockey names are weird to pronounce.
Yes,
so.
but let me
Kyril.
Kyril.
Yes, let's see. I know, I think elite prospects will have pronunciation. Let's see.
Being that you picked him, I don't think you're going to pick this guy, but then we have another top draft pick like Shepard. What was his name?
James Shepard.
James Shepard, who was
he was
supposed
part
to
of
be
the
next big thing.
He was part of the Brent Burns
who
trade,
was supposed
though,
to be the
right?
next big thing, and he just derailed.
Yeah. No, there's no pronunciation.
It
for
probably
his
is.
last name,
Where is
but,
he from? Is he from Quebec?
He is from Quebec.
Okay, then
yeah.
it's definitely Dag.
He's Canadian
or something.
We have some fucking random Minnesota athletes around the studio.
I know. I don't know if I
Just
want to
hanging
say a
up.
lot,
Yeah.
but
The Wild signed ones. I don't know who all 3 of those guys are.
oh yeah, those guys could definitely be on a list.
Yeah, they're like autographed.
They're not on mine. I have like a couple like honorable mentions. One of them's on there, but I didn't choose. But those are random guys as well. We do have this studio is littered with random athletes.
Yep.
I love it. All right. With the 6th overall pick in the random Minnesota Athletes draft, Bossman selects.
I feel like I got to go Ryan Longwell. I mean, he was
that's
he
a good
was
one.
kind of a big deal at the time, but like he was with the Packers for a while, right? Then he went to the Vikings, or was it the other way around? I think he was.
No, you're right. That was
the
right.
Packers.
Yes.
He took the Brett Favre route and went to the Vikings eventually, and it was just a really early random kicker on the team. So I don't know.
Yeah, and I think he was on the team. I think at least it was one of his last years when we went to the NFC Championship game in 2009.
Yes.
And
wasn't a bad kicker,
No.
but wasn't a great one either.
No, I mean, he had a couple good years, I think, with the Vikings and like the Culpepper years.
He
where
was
I
really good
remember-
with the Packers.
I remember he nailed a couple 60-yard field goals like during the 2004, 2005 era, but then he really then kind of just got older and went downhill, obviously, with age. But
I'm still laughing at Toby Gerhart.
Toby Gerhart. I know, it's so weird that he was on the team. It's very
I was
strange.
not fucking ready for that, dude. It's still hitting me.
Yeah, Toby Gerhart. It's very weird. It's still weird for me.
All right. My third pick is going to be Jason Pominville.
I didn't do the jingle, but that's okay.
Oh, sorry. Do the jingle.
Ding, 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 with the 7th overall pick, Bossman selects.
Jason Pominville.
Yep.
Just super random. I mean, he had that one really good year, I think, where he scored like 30 goals. Which year was that? It was like 2013. He's 13-14 season. He scored 30 goals. Otherwise, never scored more than 18. And then he played for Buffalo from 2003 to 2013. Came to Minnesota from 2013 to 2017, and then finished his career in Buffalo from 2017 to 2019. So talk about the most random Minnesota Wild career, which is very fitting to be both Minnesota and Buffalo. Jordan Greenway, Eric Stahl, like you could name all the Tyson Jost, all the players that have gone from Minnesota to Buffalo, and Pominville led the charge.
I remember when he first joined Minnesota, I was so pumped because growing up, he was actually sick. And when he joined the Wild, he was actually still in his prime and still playing really well. He actually had 2 pretty good years at the Wild. But, yeah, he kind of fell off pretty quickly after Minnesota. I remember he went back to Buffalo and was nowhere near the same player he was.
But it's still funny, like in the whole history of the Minnesota Wild, like Jason Pominville is not someone you have on your list of like top players. So that is he's just like a random piece of the team that, you know, you had a few really good seasons, but just for the most part was just kind of there.
Of course came here and just digressed.
Yeah.
You know, he just didn't do nearly as well as he did. Typical, like with other stuff we do with transactions in this state.
Again, he had his first year or two were pretty good, but year after that he fell off.
He derailed.
Yep.
Minnesota fashion. All right. Ding, ding, doo, 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 ding, doo. With the 8th overall pick in the random Minnesota Sports Athletes Draft, Wag selects
Matt Asiata, running back for the Minnesota Vikings. He played 74 games in his NFL career. I just remember he was someone you'd put in, third and short situations, let him run. I remember he had one game where he had 45 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. He was one of those guys who just gave it to him in short yardage situation and let him go to work. And I just remember watching him growing up. He played for the Vikings from 2012 to 2016. And yeah, just another person who was like the big part of when I really started getting into the Vikings.
Yep. Yeah, Matt Asiata, I think he was during that, and when AP in his couple of his last years, and then when we had Bridgewater kind of, and he was a good utility back. But yeah, he was definitely a random guy.
A very random guy.
Yep. All right, ding, ding, doo, 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 ding, doo. With the 9th overall pick in the random Minnesota Athletes Draft, I myself, JJ, select Keith Carney.
That's a good one.
Ex-Minnesota Wild guy. He won I still remember to this day, he got the OT winner in Game 3 of the 2008 playoffs against the Colorado Avalanche to put us up 2-1 in the series, and guess what? We dropped the next 3 games and lose 4-1. In typical Minnesota fashion, naturally. But yeah, Keith Carney was a guy that, was on the team for a couple years. He was just kind of stuck around. He didn't do a lot, but he always just had one random awesome goal that had had a high impact on the game. But he's just a super random dude. We had Keith Carney. I mean, that's a crazy weird name, but we had a Keith. Well, we had a Keith Ballard too. So
yep.
All right. Ding, ding, doo, 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 ding, doo. With the 10th overall pick in the random,
I'm fucking over this.
Random Minnesota Athlete Draft, I myself, JJ, select Corey Brewer.
Oh.
He was on my list too, dude. Yeah.
Minnesota Timberwolves guard from 2011 to 2011. We had some of our worst teams in franchise history, and the sad thing is he was our best player during that time. But I just remember him. He was on the Final Four and championship teams when he played at Florida with Joakim Noah and all those guys. And I was actually pumped when he came here, but then I realized the Timberwolves just sucked. So I'm like, this doesn't even matter.
Yes, he dropped 60 points in a game as a member of the Timberwolves. Do you remember that?
But he literally was the only contributor. Like we might have got 70 points in that game total.
Yeah, sort of. I'll rate. So when it's my turn, I'll probably tell someone else who's been through that era with the Wolves. So.
All right, sounds good. Ding ding doo 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 ding doo. With the 11th overall pick in the random Minnesota athletes draft, Wag selects.
I'm going to go with the Michael Beasley. I remember when we got Michael Beasley, everyone was like, hey, this kid's 21 years old. He's going to be fucking sick. He's going to be the future of the team. And he only lasted 2 years at the Timberwolves. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because he jumped around a lot of teams. But and every single time he went to a new place, the fan base would be like, hey, he's turning around his career here. And he's going to be great. And he never really got there. But, yeah, it's another player from the same Timberwolves era that, maybe if the situation was different, maybe if there's better players, his career would be different, but you never know.
I remember he was from Kansas State, right?
Let's see. I have him pulled up right here.
K-State.
Am I right?
Of course it doesn't tell us his college because that's bad. Yeah.
Should look at Michael Beasley. I'm pretty sure he played at Kansas State, and he had a stellar career there, obviously, to get drafted. But I remember him at Kansas State, and he was fantastic. And I'm like, I was kind of excited for him to come here, and then, of course, just does nothing. And I think there were a couple guys in that
Kansas
draft.
State University.
Beautiful.
Guess what the last team he played for? It's kind of funny. The Shanghai Sharks.
Oh, nice. He went to China.
Yes.
He probably played with Jimmer Fredette.
Oh, yeah. Who was sick in China, too, by the way.
Yeah. Talking about another, if we were doing a random college basketball athlete draft, he'd be like number one. But, okay, yeah. Michael Beasley. All right. Ding, ding, doo, 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 ding, doo. With the 12th overall pick in the random Minnesota athletes draft, Bossman selects
Christian Guzman.
Oh, that's a great one, dude. That's a great one.
Oh, the Guzman. I don't even remember, dude. Just remember watching him at the Dome, and he played shortstop, right? I think.
Yeah, he did, yes.
I don't really got much on him beyond that. I mean, he was part of that core group of twins that I grew up on, Christian Guzman, Nick Punto, Doug Mankiewicz. I mean, there's a list of that could all fit on this list of Twins players. Corey Koski, and he just played in that era, and I just remember watching him at the Dome and just that stadium, and the memories being there with my grandpa, being there with my dad, my uncles, them just being pissed off the entire time. Christian Guzman,
he was a tank, and
he was a big dude.
In MLB Slugfest, you guys remember that game growing up? That was like the first baseball game I ever played, and he was sick in that game, and I'll always love him for it.
Yep.
I still have a vivid memory because he went the first year the Washington Nationals became a team. He got traded to the Nationals. And I specifically, and my dad kind of wanted to go too. I wanted to see the Nationals as a new team, and it was the first time the Nationals were coming to the Dome, and he was playing. Of course, he was starting for the Nationals, and I kind of wanted. We had actually decent tickets. I actually wanted to get his autograph. It turns out I was not the only kid that wanted to get Christian Guzman's autograph. There were like 50 other kids, Twins fans, that wanted his autograph to the point where there was like almost like a riot down by the. Of kids like that were older than me. I was like 9 years old. There was like a bunch of 12-year-old kids almost fighting to get Christian Guzman's autograph. I remember one kid tripped over a bunch of seats, like nose started bleeding. I still remember this, all to get Christian Guzman's autograph, but he was on the Nationals. It was crazy.
Yeah. He was an icon, dude.
Yeah. It was unreal.
Also, just you kind of talking about hoarding a player for autographs as a kid. You guys remember back when Twins Fest was in the Dome?
Yeah.
Back when they did it. Back when they did it right.
It was
Move it to U.S. Bank.
They should.
Yeah. Get inside. Yeah,
Get inside.
I like that.
Yeah. Something about being on the field.
I know they or somehow make it doable to have it on target field.
The concourse is a disaster.
Yeah, you put it on the field or put like maybe a big bunch of big tents or something on the field that people can go into and stuff like and have them heated tents.
You're right. It's tough unless they change the timing of Twins Fest, though, right?
I
mean, because you don't want to do it like right after the season ends, like in the fall, but you also. You want to do it like with enough time to get hyped for the season, right? And that's only going to be during the fucking winter.
Real ones will remember one of the first pieces of original content that 10,000 Takes put out was me and my college buddy Peter just got hammered at Cowboy Jacks and showed up at Twins Fest.
He was one of the original 10K Takes members. Shout out Peter S.
We were both in the arcade playing the basketball game. We're the only two adults in there. Like 10 beers deep, just debating on going up to Devin Smeltzer to ask if he wanted to, like, I don't even. Did we even have a show back then?
No, we had.
I don't know what we were wanted.
We
I
didn't
don't.
know. We had the Minnesota rundown.
Okay, maybe that's what I wanted him
We
to
didn't
come
have.
on.
We didn't have guests on the Minnesota
know.
rundown
We were
at the
so
time.
new.
So I didn't know what the purpose was. I know one of us was going to go up and talk to him, and every time one of us would start to walk, we'd pussy out and walk back because the guy's surrounded by kids. And it's like, you don't want a drunk adult coming up to you and asking you to follow his blog that has 0 followers or is just built with terrible quality. So that was a really interesting experience. I'm pretty sure TC knew we were drunk too because he like did this to us, like pretending to like drink out of a bottle. We're like, yeah, we've been drinking.
We had a few.
As there's like kids waiting in line to take pictures with TC.
That's funny though because like now, like we do embarrassing shit like that all the time. So it's funny how like embarrassed we would be back in the day, and now it would be no problem.
That
to
would
go
be
up to
great
them.
content.
It
though.
would be great content.
We need to get
now,
hammered and go back to Twins Fest.
and cut in front of kids, have
Yep.
parents yell at us.
4-year anniversary. Although it needs to be Jake doing that kind of shit, not me.
Oh,
I'm too upstanding of a citizen to be seen.
yeah.
doing that.
I don't care. My
Your tolerance to
my
embarrassment has
civilized-
gone
yeah.
quite through the roof.
my civilized card
What are
is
you
gone.
doing right now, dude? You're killing me.
What?
You put your index. This is literally what you just did. You put
Like
your
this?
index finger on your nose.
He's
and you
touching-
slowly rubbed it down.
He's
your
touching his beak. That's,
Oh,
that's what Bubba would say.
Toucan Sam.
Yep.
Ostrich.
All right. Okay. So
Zane's
that's my fourth.
Okay. Oh, that was your fifth.
The fourth. That was the conclusion of the fourth
Oh
round.
yeah, so it goes to you again.
So
Yep.
this would be pick
Ding,
number.
ding,
yeah.
doo, 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 ding,
12.
doo.
I thought you did 2 in a row. Did you not?
I thought you did 2.
I didn't pick my second yet, though. I wanted to wait for you to do the buzzer.
You already did that, and that was his last. Am I crazy? Josie? You're a bystander.
So I've picked so far Mueldy Moore, Ryan Longwell, Jason Pominville, Christian Guzman, and then I would go one more time and we'd go through the end.
Okay, sounds good.
So we each have one left.
Yeah, no, I know. I
Oh
thought
no,
that was your
because he
fifth.
said Guzman,
Yes.
then Jake had to redo the
Yes,
shit. Okay,
yes.
I got you.
Okay, yeah,
got you.
I was
I've
confused.
been writing this down.
All right,
You got
sounds
it. You
good.
got it.
All
All right,
I'm so sorry for doubting
I'm
you.
sorry, okay,
This is
Julian.
a
I'm
science.
sorry. Okay.
According to Adam, though, I don't know what I'm doing here. So
Yeah.
fucker.
Adam's just catching strays.
Absolutely. Actually, everyone on this list is catching strays. They're professional athletes who have achieved what only 0.1% of the population
Yet we're
is
shitting
even
on 'em.
capable of doing it, yet we're laughing at them.
Yeah,
well,
the purpose of the draft is random
It is, but they're looking at their bank accounts and they're the ones laughing. In the
Absolutely.
so-
Absolutely.
and looking at highlights of themselves. We don't have that.
and jerking
We don't
off.
have
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, all right. Ding, ding, doo, 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 ding, doo. With the 13th overall pick in the random Minnesota athletes draft, Bossman selects.
My final pick is Chris Cluey.
Oh, the punter of the
Yeah.
Ryan
Oh,
Longwell. That's
The
hilarious.
Pike, yeah. I know I've been choosing a lot of like early season Vikings, but this is like what I remember
Yeah.
back from when I was a kid.
Same year. Those. Yeah.
Chris Cluey was a good punter who was with the Vikings for years, but was also a top 10 in the world ranked Guitar Hero player. I remember that was like kind of his fun fact at like the Dome or in the programs. It was like, did you know that Chris Cluey also attends Guitar Hero competitions because he's that good at it too? So, Dad, that's the only 2 things I know about Chris Cluey. He punted with the Vikings when I was a kid, and he shreds on Guitar Hero. He's probably like one of those guys on YouTube who you could fucking blindfold himself and play through the fire and the flames on expert.
Yeah, that good. That's
Yeah.
unreal. I remember just growing up. That was a sick special teams room. Ryan Longwell, Chris Cluey.
Yeah. I took the 2-headed monster. I took the 3-eyed, blue-eyed dragon or whatever that thing was called in Yu-Gi-Oh. Basically, Chris Cluey, Mueldy Moore, and fucking Ryan Longwell.
You got the Triforce of
The
courage. or
trifecta of
something.
random Vikings who never achieved anything.
Yeah, that were personalities for sure. But
Absolutely.
No,
I
so
don't know.
Mike was Ryan Longwell the kicker when Brett Favre team going to the NFC
Yeah,
Championship,
I'm
and
pretty
was Chris
sure.
Cluey the punter as well?
I don't
I
know
want, I
about
wanted to
that.
confirm. I'm getting yeses
You-
from our producer.
Okay, yeah. I'll look it up. Or are you looking it up, Josie? Josie's looking it up.
Okay, we have a producer
That
for
sounds-
Josai.
Sounds like the stars have at least aligned there for like a
Yeah.
year. Maybe throw Mueldy more. No, I'm kidding.
Well, dude, as soon as we talked about we were doing the random MN Sports draft today, all I could think of was people from the fucking 2009, 2010 NFC
know.
Championship game team.
Yeah.
That was all that was popping
Yeah.
into my fucking
That
head.
and-
But they
and-
both were.
okay.
So we have confirmed Ryan Longwell and Chris
Yeah.
Cluey were the kicker and punter for that team.
I also just thought
Bring
of
him
like,
back.
a shit ton of Twins players, but I can't put them all
Same.
down because I wanted some balance on my list, even though it kind of lacked like a Timberwolves player.
Yeah. So I was talking with Josie about this name Like it was so easy to get named Twins players.
I
It was so
know.
much harder to name any other.
It shows
team.
how much turnover the Twins have. every
Well,
year.
the MLB definitely does have a lot, but like the Twins have had a lot
Yeah.
over the years. It's crazy.
Yeah. All right.
All
So
right.
yeah, that's my 5.
The final. All right. Ding. With the 14th overall pick in the random Minnesota athletes draft,
That's correct.
Wade selects.
I'm going to go with Ilya Bridgegoloff. Now, I know he's a bigger name, but he only played 12 games for the Minnesota Wild. And when he joined the Minnesota Wild via the trade deadline from the Edmonton Oilers, the Wild were in a fight for their lives for the playoffs. In the 12 games that Ilya started, he went 7-1-3, and he was like the main reason we ended up making the playoffs that year. And on top of all of his other humongous big, all of his other fucking bits he has, he was one of my favorite goalies that's ever played for the Minnesota Wild. And it's hilarious that it was only 12 regular season games and like 3 playoff games. But gosh, it was just to me it's still crazy just to say that Ilya Bridgegoloff wore the Minnesota Wild uniform.
He was just an awesome character.
I remember
Awesome dude.
24/7 for the NHL for the Winter Classic when he was with Philadelphia. He went to sit right next down to Yager at the table, and then Yager was like, "I'm not doing this." And Yager immediately gets up from the table and sits somewhere else. So then Ilya grabs his food, stands up, and immediately follows Yager
I think
around.
I remember seeing that.
Yeah, but he's so fucking funny, and he's a great personality, and I'd love to have him working for Bally Sports for the Minnesota Wild. I think that would be the best thing Bally could do. Now, obviously, he's a Russian. He probably wants to be home in Russia, but if there's any way we could get him here in Minnesota being a color guy or just someone who interviews players, I would be so down for it.
I know.
I would think maybe the war going on over there would push him here.
Yeah, you would think.
Just a little
yeah.
bit. But yeah, his commentary and his like dialogue with journalists too was just great. He would troll them. And
he was one of the Winter Classic games. Like it was like a 1A and 1B situation, kind of like Fleury and Gustafson, right? And he found out the day before the Winter Classic game he wasn't going to start. So someone asked like, "What are you going to do tomorrow?" He's like, "I'm probably going to drink Earl Grey tea." And then he started debating the kind of teas that he was going to drink on the bench.
Nice.
But yeah, that was so funny.
I just love the universe is just so humongous big. That was fantastic. Yeah, he was just so random when we got him, but he actually helped.
He was the reason we made the playoffs that year. That big push at the end of the year.
He was a part of a reason that I know Kemper was a big factor in that series, but he did help contribute to one of 2 teams that made it out of the first round in the last decade.
And people forget Bridgegoloff was on the squad for preseason the next year.
Yes,
he was He was trying out for the team. He was signed a PTO, and one of the greatest bits from that preseason was fans would start coming up to the backup goaltender spot and just taking selfies. And Bridgegoloff maybe took 200 selfies with fans as the backup goalie in preseason the next year, which was hilarious.
We should have kept him.
We should have kept him.
Should have kept him for one more year. Gave him a chance.
Yep.
All right.
He only played 8 more games in his career for the Ducks, and he went 1-4. So
yeah, that's the place.
4.19 GAA.
That's
so.
the place to retire.
He was
hey,
dumb.
that's sniffing my numbers.
That sucks. He was a great personality. All right. With the 15th and final pick in the random Minnesota athletes draft, I myself, JJ select. It's a tough one, but I'm going to go with
I have 45 more written down.
I do. I have like 10. I'm going to go with Sir Bobby Kelty.
Bobby Kelty. Is that a
Bobby Kelty,
baseball?
Twins player.
Yeah.
2003, he was battling, I think, for the right field position with I forgot who else, but it was him and like Jock Jones, but he ended up playing.
Jones.
He ended up playing. I could have named Jock Jones.
We'll do an honorable mention section.
Oh,
afterwards.
absolutely.
But Bobby Kelty just was. I remember watching games as a kid, and he was kind of a hothead, and he would just get into like arguments with people. But he was just crazy. He wasn't the best. He had one really good year where he hit very well, and then it just went downhill from there. But I know he was like fighting for that starting right field spot at one point. So another rando I remember from growing up.
Bobby Kelty. All right, let's open the floodgates and start listing off some honorable mentions.
You just want to go like one at a time here? Or how do you want to do that? I think that'd be kind of funny. We could probably just keep shooting them off until we stop shooting them off. I think that'd be a good fit.
Let's just go around. Let's just free form.
Starting with you just want to go across.
Yeah.
Let's do
Yeah,
1, 2,
we'll
3,
go
1, 2,
across.
3, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, like a Darcy Kemper.
Okay,
was
there we
someone
go.
on the list.
Mike Redmond.
Mike Redmond, Rondell White. I almost picked him.
Well, I think this guy is a Hall of Famer technically, Jim Thome.
Oh yeah, he is, but not. But
like for us, it was such a random
like 2 years.
two-year stint.
Yep.
I think
Jim
he
Thome.
batted DH and would hit a bomb or strike out. He was kind of in a Joey Gallo type role.
I got another 20. Matthew Leacroy. Do you guys remember
Matthew
Leacroy?
Leacroy.
It was hilarious. He's just fat as fuck, and you put him as your catcher in Slugfest. It was great.
Talk about Lou Ford.
Yep.
We had Orlando Hudson.
Oh,
Remember
yes,
him?
we
He
did.
helped lead us in the 09 playoffs.
Corey Koski.
Corey Koski.
Yeah. Nick Punto, Lou Ford.
Nick
Yep.
Punto, Michael Goodire.
Michael
Michael Goodire was
Goodire.
great, but you look back, you're like, it's just. We had J.J. Hardy for a year.
Yes.
That was weird. Joe
Matt
Creedy.
Tolbert.
Matt
yes,
Tolbert.
Matt
Matt
Tolbert.
Tolbert.
Yes.
Should have been on everybody's. That was the first athlete lookalike I got ever.
What about
Doug-
Joe
Doug-
Mays? Obviously.
Joe Mays, he was
Yeah.
my favorite. I had a poster in my room too.
Doug Mankiewicz, Irvan Santana.
Yeah, Irvin
Yep.
Santana.
I got John Sullivan, obviously Shanko, Vashante Shanko.
Vasante Shenko and his
Yeah,
big
Kyle
cock.
Lowe.
Yeah, hey.
Remember when his cock showed up on Fox 9?
Kyle Loesch.
That was fucking nuts. That was the legacy
Blackburn.
Vasante Shenko left, was his fucking cock.
Do you remember that receiver we had? He had like one good year. It was in like 2014. It was
Sidney Rice?
Charles Johnson.
Sidney Rice.
No, Sidney Rice was actually good.
He
for
was
a couple
solid.
He had one good year for the Vikings and
Yeah.
signed a giant
Yeah, I
contract
know.
with the
The Seahawks.
Seahawks.
But I'm talking about
yes.
someone more random. Is Charles Johnson?
Charles, who even is
played-
that?
No,
He was
I
a
remember.
wide
Yeah, he had the
receiver.
blonde tips. I know
Right.
you're talking
Jimmy
about.
2014.
Jimmy Kleinsasser.
Jim Kleinsasser.
We didn't. What about Jim Dowd? We ever say Jim Dowd?
Jim
think
Dowd,
so.
Brad Bombardier,
Stefan Veyu.
Stefan Veyu, Martin Skula.
Oh God, that's a great one
Martin
too.
Skula.
What about? Do you guys remember Ramon Sessions, Timberwolves?
Yeah,
Anyone?
I do remember
Yeah.
Sessions.
Okay, yeah.
We had that. What was his name again for the Timberwolves? Telfair, like Anthony Telfair, Sebastian Telfair. He was
Donovan-
supposed to be really good.
Donovan McNabb.
Donovan.
Oh
McNabb.
yeah, dude, I forgot
Bro,
about
we-
him.
that
we
thing
had
for-
he was on the quarterback at the time. He played for the Chiefs.
Matt Castle.
Matt
Matt
Castle.
Castle. There
Yep.
was a stint there.
We had
Ran for governor, Matt Burke.
Matt Burke.
Yes, yes.
Well, lieutenant governor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're
but
right.
still random.
What about UND boy Jimmy Kleinsasser?
Yeah.
I just
Yep.
I
Yeah.
listened
Oh,
to
you
him.
did?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Owen Nolan.
Yes. I had him on my list too.
Who are-
It was between him and Ilya, and I chose
Yeah,
Ilya.
Owen Nolan.
Who are some more Vikings tight ends? I feel like most Vikings tight ends have been fairly random. Kyle Rudolph was
Yeah.
obviously pretty iconic
Yeah,
and still is around
Minnesota.
the state, so he doesn't fall in the threshold. But I feel like most other tight ends.
Okay, if he didn't still play on the team, Johnny Munt would 100% be
Yes.
a great answer.
Yeah,
In the
yeah.
future, he will be.
He will be like when we're in our 40s. He will be like that random Viking.
Yes, he will.
Who? Richard
Richard
Owens.
Owens,
Yeah,
yeah.
he'll be up there
I'm
too.
thinking of more wild guys. Remember Kim Janssen?
Yep. Did
Willie
we say
Mitchell,
did we-
Curtis Foster,
Philippe Cuba? Anyone say
Nick
him?
Schultz.
I feel
Flip
like
Cuba. I
we're friends with him, so this is a stray. But Nate Prosser.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, he's a good guy.
Jordan Leopold.
Oh,
Or not
yes.
Jo- yeah,
yes.
yeah, Jordan
What about
Leopold.
Jordan Schrader?
Jordan Schrader. He
Yes.
came up a few times.
Eric Bellinger.
Dude,
Belanger.
We could do like a 7-hour episode of this podcast where we
Dude.
just name random
And
players.
the Gopher fans will appreciate this, but I have written down like random ass Gophers.
Well, let's hear your random Gophers. Let's see if Jack and I know any of them.
DeJuan Bennett,
No.
running back. He was running back for the Gophers under Adam Weber and Eric Decker when they just opened up the stadium.
I know those two names.
Yeah.
DeLeon Eskridge. He was the backup to DeJuan Bennett. Became the starter for a year.
No,
No.
chance.
Moses Alapate.
No.
He was supposed to be he was a top 5 quarterback in the country. Got recruited by Tim Brewster, stayed here, became fat, became a tight end, and didn't do jack shit.
He just knows his
I'm
whole
not kidding.
story. God.
Max
Ah.
Shortell. Remember Max Shortell, the ginger? He was supposed to be great.
Was he? What
He was a quarterback. He was a backup to Marquise Gray.
I do, because
And he came in for the USC game in Jerry Kill's first game because
Yes.
Marquise Gray
I just
got
remember
injured.
you kept saying he was the future at the time.
Yeah, and I thought he was. And this is basketball. Cam would be like having a boner.
He'd
right
have
now.
an erection, yeah.
Damian Bostick.
Okay, I remember the boss.
Yeah, that's
He was from
that sounds
2009. And then
familiar.
Julian Welch.
no.
Very
No
random.
chance,
That he was a transfer
You know,
for 2 years.
The funny thing is, you could name some of Gopher basketball's greatest
Yeah.
players, and Jack and I'd be like, "Well, who?"
Well, like a great that we had like 13 years ago. His name is Lawrence Westbrook, and a lot of people won't know who he is, but he's probably random. But he was like actually one of the best by the numbers players we ever had in Gopher basketball.
the
He's-
greatest Gopher basketball player to have
Al
the best
Nolan.
pro career would
No,
probably be
Bobby
Dave
Jackson.
Winfield.
Wait, that's football, isn't it?
No, baseball, bro.
Antoine
Baseball. I think,
Winfield.
Antoine Winfield.
He's kind of.
Dave
I mean, he
Winfield,
was
my bad.
obviously like a
I'm
great
talking about
player, but
football.
he's almost kind of like a random Viking.
He is. Yeah,
Antoine Winfield. I mean,
Because now his son's
absolutely.
relevant,
Yeah, the
yes.
Winfields have a legacy here.
I
but-
still remember though, like Winfield Jr. was on the board, and everyone from the Vikings, all the fans were like, "Let's take him." Don't get me wrong, we're all homers. I really wish we would have taken him. 'Cause we
Dude,
need a good safety right now.
we could do another draft of random Minnesota coaches. We won't say any.
yeah.
I feel like that could be a whole separate draft.
Jacques Lemaire. Then I
Yeah.
just start screaming them out.
Yeah. There could be. Yeah, there could be.
It kind of reminds me like with the Gopher basketball thing and like especially college sports. But me and my buddy on our way up to the 4th of July cabin, we named as many golfers as we possibly could, and it got to the point where there were some players that we said where it was like, holy shit, like totally forgot about that guy. I think collectively we named over 100 players, and these drafts they're hilarious.
Yeah.
So.
Maybe one day we'll do a live stream where we just name Minnesota players like who's played for Minnesota sports teams until we can't.
And then there's like a punishment if you like get stumped or something.
Yeah,
The
well, we should
person who
have.
gets
So we
stumped.
need someone like keeping track and just writing down the names of players. And let's say, for example, if you repeat a player who's already been said, that's a punishment. Or if you get stumped, it's a punishment.
Yeah.
You know, one more honorable mention though. That someone should have put on their list. Scott Baker.
Oh,
Pitcher
the
for-
pitcher for the
he was like the
Twins,
biggest thing for like a couple years. Like, and he
Yes.
was good, but then he just fell off.
One more.
David Ortiz.
Yeah,
Yep.
David Ortiz.
Ortiz.
Who was the really fast like left fielder that we had for a while? Then went to the what?
I do remember Ben Revere.
Ben Revere. No,
Nationals.
he was a smaller dude. He was from South America, and he played for the Brewers and ended up like making the All
That's
Star.
Valencia?
Carlos Gomez.
Carlos
Oh,
Gomez.
yeah, Carlos
Yeah.
Gomez. Oh, Luis Castillo. I'm just
Him.
thinking of
Carlos
No,
Gomez,
it's Carlos
too.
Gomez, but I was just thinking of that lineup.
In 10 years though, some of the current Twins I know are going to be on this list, like Kyle Farmer,
Oh yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
Luis-
Kyle Garlic. Like, yeah, there's
Luis-
second art. Just the
Michael
Kyle.
A. Taylor,
Luis Rivas.
Oh my God.
What was it? Alexi Casilla.
Darren Sharper, wasn't he?
Shannon
Darren
Stewart.
Sharper, one of the hardest sitting safeties in the league, and now in fucking
Darren
prison.
Sharper.
Yeah. Now he's
yeah.
in the clink.
There's
Oh,
so many
shit.
random athletes. We could just keep going.
All right, well, we're going to cut it off there, folks. Thanks so much for listening to another episode of It's a Bit. Make sure to vote on the Twitter poll on who won the random Minnesota Athletes draft. Make sure to go to the website and read all the blogs, 10ktakesmn.com. Thank you so much for listening to us and supporting another episode of It's a Bit, and we'll see you next week.